Chapter 10:10. Hearing that Yi Hua asked Daji to go over, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji knew that there was nothing for them to do anymore. You two should rest early and recover your energy. When the time comes, I will bring Mother over. Don't look so tired, understand? Really? We're gonna sleep. We have been staying up too late recently. Baiji, do you still have any facial masks? And I still have a few. How about we go and buy some tomorrow? I don't need to go and buy some facial masks and skincare products. This place is very dry. Yi Hua was helpless. These two women suddenly started talking about cosmetics. I should just call Daji over first. However, before calling Daji over, Yi Hua found Wei Chong and told him a few things, then went upstairs with Daji. These few days, Daji felt as if she was suffering from depression. Everything she did was boring. Eating wasn't tasty anymore. Sleeping was also insomnia. Only when Master is by my side can I feel at ease and have the energy to do anything. But now, Master hugged me in his embrace. Wow. I am so happy. Master's embrace is so comfortable, so warm. Just like last time, there's also a faint fragrance, so fragrant. Master didn't abandon Daji. No matter where I go, I will think of Daji. Comfortable. We are here. Yi Hua said faintly. Daji went into a daze, then hurriedly left Yi Hua's embrace and stood at the side, not saying anything, while sizing up the house with the corner of her eyes. Daji. Daji was delighted, bringing me into the house in the middle of the night. There's even a bed at the side. Oh my God. Master finally called Daji to serve me in bed. I am so excited, so nervous. I feel like my life has reached the climax. Master is so hateful. After going around in such a big circle, he actually wants Daji to serve him in bed, and he is still so embarrassed. What is there to be embarrassed about? Daji serving him in bed is a very normal thing. This is also something within the Master's duty. Daji could be seen lowering her head slightly and starting to untie the belt of her dress with a bashful look on her face. At the same time, she also had a look of saying that Master should take pity on Daji. Daji's body is weak. If not, she won't be able to use it in the future. What are you doing? Yi Hua said gravely. Master. Daji went into a daze, then looked at her master with an adorable look. Why are you undressing? Master, didn't you call Daji to serve you in bed? Yi Hua, this Daji only thinks about serving me in bed all day long. She's even dirtier than I was back then. I'll give Daji the title of Filthy Demon King. The reason why I called you up this time is because I want to give you a mission. Yi Hua said faintly. When Daji heard that she was not asked to serve him in bed, her mood immediately became gloomy. Everything added up was not as important as serving him in bed. Yes, Master, Daji said dejectedly. Yi Hua felt that it was funny and said lightly, if you perform well, you will still have the chance to serve me in bed in the future. Really, when Daji heard what Daji said, it was as if she had been revived. I'm so happy. What Daji wants is just to serve me in bed. Yi Hua nodded his head. Let's give Daji an empty check first. This way, I will be more serious when doing things. I, the Supreme Overlord, am just too outstanding, and I still have to use this kind of method to appease my subordinates. These women, they're just lusting after my body. Incredible. Seems like I have to properly protect myself when I go out. Master, tell me, what do you want Daji to do? To protect my mother. Daji's eyes were flickering. Master's mother. Doesn't that mean that she will be my mother in the future? Wow, Master is actually letting me protect my own mother from this. It can be seen just how assured he is. Master, you can be at ease. As long as Daji is here, Mother will not be injured. Daji's thoughts were immediately revealed, and she immediately called Yi Hua mother. Yi Hua was helpless as he said faintly, your identity is just a maid. Do you understand? And Daji understands. Daji was already satisfied. You can sleep here first tonight. I will bring you over tomorrow morning. Okay, Master. Daji took a look at the big bed and began frantically hinting at her master. Master, don't you want to smell the fragrance of Daji's body and also the temperature of Daji's body? It is very comfortable. Master, you can sleep on the bed. Daji will go and find a cushion. Daji could be heard saying faintly. Of course. Yi Hua said faintly. Under Daji's help, Yi Hua took off his clothes, then laid on the bed and slept. Towards Daji's frantic hints, Yihua was completely unaffected. This caused Daji to even have the heart to want to die. Master's willpower is too strong. I'm unable to entice him at all. I wonder how your wife managed to push Master down. She is truly too valiant. Left with no choice, Daji could only sleep on the floor and pretend to be pitiful. However, Yihua, who was on the bed still, did not have any reaction. Even if Daji were to sleep in a world of ice and snow, she would not catch a cold. Gradually, Yihua finally fell asleep. He thought of a lot of plans and felt that it should be very interesting. On the morning of the second day, Yihua smelled a familiar smell. This is the smell of pancakes. Opening his eyes, Yihua saw that breakfast was placed on the table, and soon after, he saw Daji walking over with a bowl of century egg and lean meat porridge. Master, wake up, Daji will go and pour some water for you. Yihua nodded his head. It must be said that Daji's service is indeed very comfortable. Forget about Qinya and Dongwang Baiji. I don't expect them to serve me either. Yihua put on his clothes, and Daji walked over while carrying a basin of water and hurriedly helped Yihua tidy up his clothes. Big brother, right at this moment, Yi Juetian suddenly walked in, and when he saw this scene, Yihua took a look at Daji and acted as if nothing had happened. Yi Juetian had seen Daji before. Upon seeing Daji, Yi Juetian swallowed a mouthful of saliva. I remember that last time when I was in the pavilion, this woman was kneeling at the side and brewing tea, and the tea was very tasty. She was mesmerized at that time. From the looks of it, she shouldn't be his big brother's woman. If only I could let big brother introduce him to me. Daji sensed Yi Juetian's gaze that was filled with ill intentions. However, in the end, Yi Juetian was her master's blood-related younger brother, and she couldn't disrespect him. Daji could only endure and not say anything. Why did you come over so early? Yihua asked faintly. Daji was currently combing Yihua's hair. Yi Juetian came back to his senses and said, Big brother, mother wants you to accompany me more. After all, you're going to leave tomorrow. Got it. I'll be there after breakfast. Yi Juetian walked towards Yihua with a smile on his face. In actuality, he just wanted to get closer to Daji. Right when I got close to Daji, I smelled a fragrant scent. It was so comfortable. Very soon, Yihua finished dressing up. Afterward, Yihua sat at the breakfast table, and Daji served him by the side. At this moment, Yi Juetian asked softly, Big brother. In a chapter. Chapter 10-11. I have something to discuss with you. Yi Juetian rubbed his hands together, and from time to time, he would take a look at Daji. So beautiful, so beautiful. I have already fallen in love with this girl. Yihua, who was eating the fruit, Jin being asked faintly, and then, Big brother, I'm not young anymore. Last time, mother even said that she needed big brother's help. Yi Juetian's smile simply became more and more despicable. Daji, who was standing behind him, wanted to slap him. Rest assured, I will help you. Yihua said indifferently. Yi Juetian said shyly, Actually, big bro, I already have someone I like. I just need big bro to do that. Looking at his own younger brother's bashful look, Yihua really wanted to send him flying with a slap. Where's the spirit of a man? There's still a woman who likes you when you're like this? To hell with it. What do you need big brother to do? Yihua asked curiously. Big brother, this lady? Big brother, you understand. Yihua, Daji was speechless. You like Daji? Yihua asked confusedly. Yi Juetian nodded fiercely. That's right, I really like it. Big brother, please bestow it to me. Right now, Daji's heart was in a mess. If master were to bestow me away, then wouldn't I, master? Don't be like this. Yihua wrinkled his brows, then asked faintly, So, you want to? Big brother, please help me. I don't even have a wife right now. Mother is still looking forward to me getting married and having children. Yi Juetian hurriedly said. As long as his big brother was willing to help, it would be fine. Yihua wiped his mouth, then said, How do you want me to help you? Yi Juetian was about to roll his eyes. With just a look, I can tell that she is big brother's maid. Of course she's like that. Thus, Yi Juetian had a look of big brother, you understand, on his face. If you like Daji, You can go and chase after her yourself. Yihua said faintly. In terms of feelings, Yihua felt that he was free. Daji's happiness should not be based on his own words. Yi Juetian asked softly, Big brother, why did you call Daji over this time? Come and protect mother. I'm worried about you alone. I see. That's great. Yi Juetian was so excited that he almost clapped his hands. His big brother had gone to the front lines, and he was going to be alone with Daji at home. With his looks, how could he not be able to woo a little girl like Daji? Yihua shook his head, stood up, and prepared to let Daji meet his mother. Daji followed behind silently, looking very sad. Master actually tacitly allowed my little brother to pursue me. How can it be like this? Master, you should have directly rejected him. Yihua also lacked consideration and didn't take care of Daji's feelings. The three arrived at Lu Jing's small courtyard. Lu Jing's complexion looked a lot better these few days. Her face was glowing red, and she was actually knitting a sweater. Yihua didn't expect that this kind of thing would still be popular in the gods' realm. Looking at his mother, she should be knitting sweaters for her grandchildren. However, he still had to remind his mother not to follow the standard of a child, but to follow the standards of an adult. After all, by the time Ali and the others returned, they would have already grown up. Mother, Yi Juetian happily called out. He felt that he would definitely be able to successfully woo the girl. Daji's loyalty towards Yihua would never change. How could it be possible for her to accept another man? That was something that did not exist in the first place. Before Yi Juetian even started, he was already destined to end up in a tragedy. Lu Jing raised her head and looked towards her two sons. However, this time, she directly looked towards Daji, who was at the back. What a beautiful lady. This is... Lu Jing directly asked Daji. She was very curious about the relationship between Yihua and Daji. After all, Daji was standing behind Yihua. Could this be Yihua's wife? Daji's looks are indeed not bad. Yihua pulled Daji to the front of his mother and said, This is the new maid that I found for you. When I am not around, she will be able to protect your safety. Maid Daji. Daji bowed slightly and greeted. Lu Jing didn't expect that this Daji was actually just a maid. With such a beautiful appearance, she shouldn't just be a maid. Lu Jing didn't dare to believe it. After sizing up Daji, she doesn't look like a maid at all. Both of you take a seat, Lu Jing said with a slight smile. Daji obediently stood at the side. She discovered that her master's mother was also very beautiful and very benevolent. This is great, little Tian. Why is your face so red? Lu Jing discovered that there was a bit of a problem with her son and asked curiously. Yi Juetian was a bit embarrassed. He secretly took a glance at Daji, who was beside his mother, and then a shy look appeared on Yihua's face, causing goosebumps to appear all over Yihua's body. To actually be able to be shy to such an extent, Yihua is simply convinced. When Lu Jing saw her son acting like this, she more or less understood what he meant. This little Tian has finally grown up and knows that he likes women. Daji had a calm look on her face. Not moved at all, little Tian. You have to work hard. Lu Jing laughed lightly, expressing that she was encouraging her son. If there's a girl that you like, then go and chase after her. Yi Juetian appeared to be very embarrassed. Mother actually said it out loud. This is so embarrassing. Yihua shook his head. If you're able to chase after Daji like this, I, the Supreme Overlord, will be able to live stream myself eating sh*t, and it would be the type where my expression wouldn't even change. Yihua, you don't have to worry about Mother. Nothing will happen. Lu Jing knew that Yihua was worried about her safety. Last night, she had basically offended the Emperor, and the Emperor would definitely come and capture her to threaten Yihua. Yihua nodded his head. With Daji here, I can indeed be a lot more at ease. As for the other people from Yi family, forget about it. That's right, big brother, there's something that I need to talk to you about. What is it? This morning, I went out for a stroll and heard some very interesting things. Yi Juetian laughed. Looking at his expression, one could tell that it was definitely something good. Lu Jing smiled and said, What good thing is it? Tell Mother about it. And the things that happened at the banquet last night have all been spread out, and it is very interesting. Firstly, it is said that The emperor broke up a meritorious minister and betrothed Qian Yuqing to his own son. It is a very disappointing move. After hearing that, Yi Hua laughed. Lu Jing was a bit surprised to think that the news would spread like this. However, it is very normal for the news to spread like this. After all, that emperor was indeed doing such a thing. Then, the news of big sister-in-law being hit on the back of her hand by the ninth prince is also spreading like wildfire right now. The image of the ninth prince hitting a woman has dropped a lot in the hearts of the people. Indeed, for a man to actually go and hit a woman, this kind of man was a disgrace in the gods' realm. This is simply a shameless action, and the person that was hit was even Qian Yuqing, a super beauty. A lot of men were in a bad mood. What right do you have to hit Qian Yuqing just because you're the ninth prince? Why don't you go and die? Damn it. Lu Jing had not heard of this matter before and cried out in surprise. What? Yuqing was hit by Huang Yun. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:12. Yi Hua said faintly, I merely touched it a little, and Huang Li said that it was too big. Hearing Yi Hua's explanation, Lu Jing let out a sigh of relief. Yi Hua, you have to take good care of your wife. Hearing that, Yi Hua remained silent. Also, everyone is praising Big Brother for being loyal and righteous, taking revenge for the soldiers in the past, and praising Big Brother's great achievements. Yi Hua smiled bitterly and shook his head. There's also the matter of the Palace Hall murder incident. There are also various versions of it being spread out, such as Imperial Cloud killing people to silence them, and so on. In any case, after the matter that happened last night, the royal family's face is about to be completely gone. Yi Juetian's saliva was bursting out from his mouth, and he felt so great that he wanted to die. Lu Jing was deeply worried. Right now, Yi Hua seems to have gained the upper hand, but this kind of situation is exactly the same as back then. Back then, Yi Hua was also like this. He was praised to the heavens by the people. Lu Jing did not want to repeat the same mistake. Mother, you could be at ease. This time, I won't be like the last time. Yi Hua said faintly. However, Lu Jing was stupefied. Yi Juetian was also stupefied. Yi Hua came back to his senses. Just a moment ago, when I casually said those words, I ended up calling out my mother. Forget it, no matter what. This is my birth mother. I have to be filial to her. Although my flesh and blood have already disappeared, but the skeleton of my body is still something that my mother gave me. Lu Jing's eyes were already red. Yi Hua is finally calling me mother. Wasn't easy, Yi Hua. Be careful. Mother will wait for you to come back. And Yi Hua nodded his head. In the past, that idiot Yi Hua was killed because he was useless. This time, the main body's operation will let them die clearly. However, at this moment, Huang Fei Di was furious in the palace. After 1,000 years, Huang Fei Di was crazily smashing things. Back then, it was also because of Yi Hua's matter that he was angered to the point that his entire body was trembling, and he could only smash things to vent his anger. Just this morning, the spies outside came to report that what happened last night had indeed spread. But why was it all directed at the royal family? That Lord Yi was actually boasted to be a god. It seemed that without Lord Yi, Lingdu would die. Yesterday night's scheme was obviously set up for Yi Hua. In the end, not only did the poop not land on Yi Hua's body, it even splattered on me. This damned Yi Hua! This emperor will despise you for life. Men, Huang Fei Di shouted coldly. Sky Bearing walked in from outside. Last night, he had arranged for a few concubines to extinguish the fire for the emperor. In the end, he immediately flew into a rage. His anger flared up again. Please don't burn my head. Emperor, go get Yishan. Yes. Your Majesty. Huang Fei Di was enraged. This Yi Hua, this emperor will definitely grab hold of your weak spot. After a long while, Sky Bearing finally sent Yishan over. At this moment, Yishan was sweating profusely. He already knew what had happened in the morning, and he felt that the emperor would definitely be furious. But just as he finished thinking about it, someone came to make arrangements. That damnable Yi Hua. Do you really want to kill everyone in the Yi family? Yishan. Huang Fei Di roared in anger. Yishan was so scared that he knelt on the ground. Your Majesty, it's not the Yi family's fault. It's all that bastard's fault. You still know that he's an unfilial son. Why don't you go and kill him? Huang Feidi shouted coldly. His Majesty, I can't win against him. Huang Feidi, you still have the cheek to say that. I was hung up and beaten by my son. If I were you, I would go and bang my head against a wall. Yishan was speechless after hearing what Huang Feidi said. This is so embarrassing. My face is about to be completely thrown away. After scolding a few times, Huang Feidi felt a bit better and asked gravely, Yishan, where's your unfilial son staying in Kangluo continent? What? Do you want me to say it one more time? Did you forget that your ears are at home? Huang Feidi raised his leg and kicked Yishan down. Yishan hurriedly crawled up and said respectfully, Your Majesty, this subject really doesn't know. Are you asking me to punish him? You don't know? You are still protecting that unfilial son of yours? Huang Feidi pointed at Yishan and scolded. Yishan knew that the emperor was serious and hurriedly said, My son should know. Perhaps they heard some rumors. All right, someone come. Bring Yi Chun, Yi Liangkai, Yi Zhe. Bring all of Yi Zhe here. Yes. Huang Feidi looked at Yishan and said coldly, If all of you don't know, then go back after the punishment is over. Yishan's face was filled with an aura of death. That damned unfilial son. If it wasn't for him coming back, how could I possibly be suffering? After a while, Yi Chun and the others were invited to the emperor's bedroom. Yi Chun and the others were stupefied. However, Yi Chun immediately knelt down and kowtowed. This commoner, Yi Chun, kowtows to your Majesty. Yi Chun didn't have a position, and it was the same for Yi Liangkai and Yi Zhe. It wasn't that they weren't qualified. Rather, it was because the emperor didn't allow Yi family to become powerful again. Yi Liangkai and Yi Zhe immediately knelt down and kowtowed. Huang Feidi waved his hand, and Yi Chun and the others stood up. However, Father still didn't stand up. What is going on? I have a question for all of you. Huang Feidi said gravely. Your Majesty, please ask. If this commoner knows, I will definitely tell you. Yi Chun cupped his hands and said, All right. If you two father and son don't know, then I will let you three experience the torture tools. After hearing what was said, the expressions of father and son changed. I am asking the three of you, where does Yi Hua live in Kangluo continent? Does he have any family members? Following what the emperor said, Yi Chun and the others more or less understood what he meant. The emperor is planning to capture Big Brother's family members to threaten him. But, Your Majesty, this commoner really doesn't know. Yi Chun was very terrified. If the emperor knew about what happened in the morning, the emperor would definitely be furious. Trash. All of you are a bunch of trash. Guards, bring all of you to the Ministry of Justice. Put all of the torture tools on me before putting them back. Your Majesty, I know. Yi Zhe hurriedly knelt down and shouted out. Sky-bearing Empire, who just walked in, backed out again. There are some things that are better left unheard. Knowing too much is not beneficial to me. Speak. Yi Zhe swallowed his saliva. Your Majesty, I only heard a little bit of it that day. Big Brother lives in Kangluo continent's Wushu Empire. An empire is so big. Which family is he from? Huang Feidi almost want to kill all of them. How can they be so stupid? Your Majesty, Big Brother is Wushu Empire's emperor. Yi Zhe said lightly. Hearing what Yi Zhe said, Huang Feidi went into a daze, then laughed. Soon after, Huang Feidi held onto his face and laughed loudly. Ha! Yi Hua, I didn't expect this. Huang Feidi's laughter was filled with malevolence. I didn't expect that Yi Hua would actually be an emperor in Kangluo continent. Do you really want to sit on my position that much? End of this chapter. Chapter 10-13. Good. Very good. You all can scram. Huang Feidi said coldly. Yishan let out a sigh of relief. Thank you, Your Majesty. The father and son quickly left the palace. They were nearly killed by Yi Hua again. Sky-bearing. Huang Fei Di shouted out. Sky Bearing walked in and said respectfully, Your Majesty, bring people to Kangluo Continent, that place called Wushu Empire. Capture all of the royal family there. Then listen to my orders. Huang Fei Di wanted to keep a trump card to guard against Yihua. What if Jackdaw failed? For Yihua to return triumphantly, he had to consider all possibilities. Capturing Yihua's family was also a form of insurance for himself. Your subject obeys. Sky Bearing respectfully accepted the order. Capturing a person from the lower world was rather simple. After all, there weren't many Supremes in the lower world. However, Sky Bearing didn't dare to be careless this time, and even called a helper over. This was also a form of insurance for himself. However, what Sky Bearing didn't know was that no matter how much insurance he had, it would be useless, because Wushu Empire's palace, that was a purgatory that appeared in the human world. Right now, the boss of the purgatory was standing beside the pond with some fodder in his hands and feeding the fishes. To be more accurate, he was thinking about things to ensure that his plan was thorough. However, just as Yihua was in deep thoughts, a family guard ran over and respectfully handed over a slip of paper. Yihua took a look at it, then kept the slip of paper. The family guard swallowed his saliva. This young master's aura is so strong. Even though he is just standing there, he gives off a feeling of might without being angry. He is even stronger than the family head. This is simply terrifying. Yihua opened the slip of paper in his hands and slightly frowned. A trace of a smile appeared on his face as he scattered all of the fodder in his hands and walked out of the Yi family. Somewhat interesting. Walking in front of everyone, Yihua could feel the admiration of the people. From time to time, he would wave his hands and shout out, Comrades, you have worked hard. When the people saw how friendly Yihua was, their impression of him increased. In the past, Yihua didn't even know how to act, but the current Yihua would sometimes act, just like the smile just now. In the past, Yihua was version 1.0, and the current Yihua was at least version 9.0. However, Yihua was still in the midst of upgrading. Very quickly, Yihua arrived at a Yunda society. There was an opera here, and Yihua felt that it was a bit like an opera. I never thought that there would be such an activity in the God's realm. This is rather interesting. Everyone seemed to be listening to the play with their eyes closed, and thus, no one saw Yihua coming in. Furthermore, the lighting was a bit dim, which made it even more so. Yihua walked towards the table at the very end of the second floor and sat down. Of course, there was also a man sitting on the table. However, when Yihua sat down, the man stood up respectfully and greeted, Prince Yi. Yihua laughed lightly. Your Highness. That's right. The one who invited Yihua over was Huang Li. Prince Yi, you could just call me Huang Li. Facing Yihua, who was currently in an advantageous position, Huang Li put down his pride. This time, if I want to win against that little brother of mine, I will definitely have to ask Yihua for help. If Yihua was unable to help me, then there would really be no hope for me. The position of the crown prince would definitely belong to Huang Yun. I can't accept this. Of course, Yihua also knew of Huang Li's motive. Therefore, the reason why he came over was because he wanted to cooperate with Huang Li. After all, it was rather interesting to see them fighting amongst themselves. However, thinking up to here, those children of mine wouldn't do this, right? If they dare to do this, I will smack their butts. Then, I won't be courteous then, Huang Li, Yihua said faintly. Huang Li was delighted. Looking at Yihua's attitude, it seems like he is preparing to form an alliance with me. Furthermore, Yihua can only form an alliance with me right now. Only by forming an alliance with me will Yihua have an advantage over me. Prince Yi, we're going to set off tomorrow. Prince Yi, do you have any good plans? Huang Li asked, as he personally poured wine into Yihua's cup. Yihua held onto the wine cup and looked at the person who was singing the play below. Huang Li, you should have already planned this long ago, right? Huang Li laughed lightly, then said, Prince Yi, it's like this. This time, there's a total of 4 million soldiers in the army. I only have 1 million soldiers, and that fellow Huang Yun has 3 million soldiers. However, Prince Yi, your younger sister still has 1 million soldiers. Huang Li naturally hoped that Prince Yi would invite Yi Yuanqing to join his side. This was the main purpose of the alliance. This way, the chances of winning would increase by quite a bit. Oh, Yuanqing still has 1 million soldiers under him? Yihua seemed to have underestimated this younger sister of his. To actually have 1 million soldiers under him. It seems like her younger sister is even more powerful than me. That's right. The main force of defending the borders is Prince Ye's younger sister. This time, father even let that fellow Huang Yun be the main general, and I'm only a vice general. I am worried that Huang Yun will let me be the cannon fodder, and in the end, he will be able to take advantage of the situation. Huang Lu is extremely worried. If it was me, I would definitely let Huang Yun be the cannon fodder. It would be best if Huang Yun dies in the hands of the enemy. That way, I will be able to get rid of my competitors effortlessly. Huang Yun is the main general this time. Yihua didn't know about this, but it was within his expectations. That Huang Yun is so doted on by the emperor, it is normal for him to be the main general. That's right, father gave him the title this morning. Huang Li let out a light sigh. Speaking of morning, Huang Li suddenly said lightly, Prince Yi, today I saw that your father and your brothers were summoned into the palace for questioning. After that, sky-bearing empire left. Just say it clearly. Yihua said faintly. Prince Yi, I wonder if you have any family members in Kangluo continent? Hearing what Huang Li said, Yihua knew that the emperor was trying to threaten him. That sky-bearing empire should be the one that sent people to capture sky-bearing empire, right? And that's why Prince Yi has to be careful. Don't let other people get hold of your weakness. Huang Li was still very worried about this point. If I were to screw up at a crucial moment, that would be very troublesome. Yihua nodded his head. Sending people to Wushu Empire? Ha! The emperor sure is considerate, but he is also very smart. I, the supreme overlord, still have to praise him. Of course, this kind of intelligence can only be used on ordinary opponents. If it was the supreme overlord, this kind of intelligence would just be a small bit of intelligence. To be more precise, this kind of intelligence would be like shooting a rock and smashing one's own foot. Prince Yi, this is the map of Shanghai Pass. Huang Li took out a piece of parchment, and on the parchment was the map of the borders on the entire map. It could be seen that the entire map was filled with mountain peaks, and the mountain peaks looked as if they were rushing into the sky. However, within these huge mountain peaks, there was still a gap. It was as if this gap was specially created for the gods and demons. If there wasn't this gap, the two sides might never be able to see each other. Yihua took a look at the map. On the map, the defensive attack was in the shape of a Y. To be more precise, the terrain was in the shape of a Y. Thus, there were two areas that needed to be defended at the front. This is rather troublesome. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:14. Because as long as one side was lost, then the other side would only be a matter of time. However, there was still another line of defense at the back. Prince Yi, if my guess is correct, my 1 million soldiers and Yuanqing's 1 million soldiers will defend the first wave. That bastard is hiding behind us and waiting for us to die. Huang Li's words caused Yihua to nod his head, because if he was Royal Cloud, he would also arrange it like this. As long as the front line was lost, it would be game over. The enemy would assist him, and he would be an expert at killing with a borrowed knife. So what do you want to do? Yihua asked curiously. Huang Li narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice, Leave the city and fight. After Yihua heard this, he kind of wanted to praise Huang Li. This courage of his is still not bad. He actually gave up on defending the city and chose to go out of the city to fight. If he didn't have any courage, would he dare to do such a thing? However, this was the only way for them to win. Only by combining the two would they have a chance of winning. If they split up to defend, it would only be a matter of time before they lost. You want to take a gamble? Yihua said in a low voice. Yes. 2 million versus 5 million? Where does your confidence come from? Baby Tang asked curiously. Huang Li pursed his lips and gulped down the wine in the blanket. Since I'm going to die either way, I might as well take a gamble. Young man, it's still too early to talk about winning or losing. Yihua patted on Huang Li's shoulder. This young man, he just can't keep his composure. Doesn't he know that this is very dangerous? Hearing this, Huang Li's eyes lit up and he quickly asked, Lord Yi, do you have a good idea? My good ideas all come from my inspiration. I will talk about it after I go there tomorrow, Yihua said with a slight smile. The plan must be thorough, and I cannot allow any flaws to be seen through. No, my real plan is, even if you see through my plan, you still won't be able to do anything to me, and can only admit defeat. It's just like how I, the Supreme Overlord, am deceiving my wives. Right now, they still don't know about it. I'm really worried that one day, when they find out about it, they will come back and ask me for a divorce. My children are already so big, and they are still so impatient. Huang was a little confused. Yihua turned around and said with a smile, Don't worry, the throne is yours. Seeing that confident smile on Yihua's face, Huang Li didn't know why, but he seemed to have been influenced by Yihua's smile and was filled with confidence toward the upcoming battle, looking at Yihua's gradually disappearing back view. Only now did Huang Li realize that Yihua was indeed very attractive. Could it be that all of the commoners in Spirit City are so supportive of Yihua? Seems like I have to learn from Yihua's style as well. It was low-key yet elegant. It looked simple, but it was quite difficult to learn. Huang Li made a few moves, but he found that he could not do it at all, so he gave up. Yi Juetian had studied for over 1,000 years, but he had not learned anything. Yihua, who was walking on the street, once again revealed out an amiable smile. This Yihua was even more attractive than the Yihua in the past, causing countless young ladies to be mesmerized by him. Yihua, I love you. Meanwhile, Yihua even replied to them generously, I love you guys too. F***K. A lot of people instantly fainted. This is too enchanting. Just like this, Yihua returned to Yi family amidst waves of cheers, and that amiable smile of his immediately disappeared. Speaking about acting, who is stronger than me? If you have the ability, come out and compete with me. Big brother, where did you go? Right after Yi Baiji walked into the room, Yi Juetian could be seen running over in a panic. What's the matter? Why are you so flustered? Can't you be a bit more steady? Yihua said with a look of lecturing. If it wasn't for the fact that Yi Baiji was his blood-related little brother, he wouldn't have bothered to lecture Yi Baiji. Sister-in-law is here. Yihua's brows wrinkled. What is she doing here? I was just looking for mother to reminisce about the old days, and in the end, I bumped into Daji. After that, I heard that Daji was brought over by Big Brother, and so they started fighting? Nope. Pulling hair? Nope. Picking toes? That's even more not the case. They were actually chatting happily. My God, how is this possible? Yihua, this Qian Yuqing, from the looks of it, she's trying to get some information out of Daji's mouth. Do you think that I, the Supreme Overlord, am unable to see through such thoughts? Juetian mumbled. I initially thought that they would start fighting, and I even prepared to go and stop them from fighting, but in the end they seemed like sisters who had been separated for many years. Why is this woman so strange? Big brother, do you understand? Yihua said faintly. You just have to remember one point. Women have long hair, but short knowledge. If you don't beat them for 3 days, they will tear the tiles off the roof. So, big brother, do you often beat your wife? Not always. Yi Juetian, big brother is indeed ferocious, to even dare to beat his wife. If that's the case, father isn't too wronged. Big brother, what are you going to do? Shouldn't you be hiding in a situation like this? Yi Juetian hurriedly chased after Yihua and discovered that his big brother seemed to be going to walk right into a trap. Yihua snorted coldly. As a man, how can I lower my head to a woman? You have to properly learn from me. Well, big brother is so awesome. Seems like big brother is the boss at home. Nonsense. Yihua is a bit Sundara. Men should be the boss at home and defend the sovereignty of the family. What can women count as? When have I, the Supreme Overlord, been afraid of anything? Yihua and Yi Juetian arrived at their mother's courtyard, and before they even walked in, they could hear sounds of laughter. Among the sounds of laughter, there was mother's laughter, and of course, there was also Qian Yuqing's laughter. It seems like her mood isn't bad, right? When Yihua walked into the courtyard, The sounds of laughter immediately stopped, because the current Yihua looked just like a chatter terminator. As long as he appeared, any topic of conversation would be extinguished. Qian Yuqing, who was still laughing endlessly just a moment ago, had already slightly lowered her head, looking just like a child who had done something wrong. Meanwhile, Daji, who was at the side, was the same as well. She slightly lowered her head to show respect. Lu Jing, on the other hand, didn't do anything. Looking at the two girls at the side, I really don't understand why they are so afraid of Yihua. Is he a demon? Why is the imperial concubine here? Yihua said faintly. When Yihua said this, Qian Yuqing's expression became as ugly as it could get, and her beautiful eyes immediately turned red. Yi Juetian, who was at the side, was stupefied. Big brother, you are bullying people. Seems like those two sisters-in-law are being abused by Big Brother every day. So pitiful. Marrying Big Brother is also a tragedy. I reckon that Big Brother is just finding pleasure for beating up women. Wah, Big Brother is so perverted. Yihua, what are you saying? Lu Jing definitely had to help her daughter-in-law right now, and she held on to Qian Yuqing's hand. Daji also felt that what her master said was a bit too much. After being lectured by his mother, Yihua didn't talk back and remained silent. Yuqing, Yihua is just jealous, and that's why he said that on purpose. Don't take it to heart. Lu Jing consoled lightly. Look at this child, how pitiful. Just a moment ago, he was still praising Yihua, and look at how happy he was. And in the end, when Yihua came, he angered him to tears with just a single sentence. In a chapter. Chapter 10:15. Yihua said faintly, I'm not jealous. Mother. Qian Yuqing immediately shouted towards Lu Jing. That wronged look on her face made her tears fall down. Yuqing, don't cry, don't cry. Yihua, why don't you feel sorry for Yuqing? Yuqing has already sacrificed so much for you. Can't you just smile for a bit? Yihua still had a deadpan look on his face, as if his computer had crashed. It was useless even if he rebooted it. Lu Jing had no choice but to hold on to Yihua. After all, her relationship with Yihua had just gotten a bit better, and she couldn't use her mother's identity to pressure Yihua. This would make Yihua feel disgusted. What Lu Jing thought was indeed the case. Yihua hated threats the most, let alone threats from his family. In Yihua's heart, he felt that only enemies would threaten him. Yihua, sit down first. Lu Jing patted the stone chair at the side. Yihua took a look at Qian Yuqing, who had her head lowered, then sat down. Yi Juetian, who was standing at the side, stared at Daji. He felt that Daji and sister-in-law's beauty was completely different. There was still a huge difference. Yihua, give me your hand. Lu Jing stretched out her hand and said. Yihua placed his left hand on his mother's hand, and then Lu Jing placed Yihua's hand and Qian Yuqing's hand together and said, in the future, you two have to be together properly, don't fight, and give birth to a chubby boy as soon as possible. Understand? Qian Yuqing hadn't touched Yihua's hand for a very long time. This temperature made Qian Yuqing feel as if she got an electric shock. Furthermore, it was super warm, and her originally cold heart instantly became warm. Thus, Qian Yuqing immediately became shy, and her head lowered even more. Yi Juetian saw this, and he felt that he should beg his mother to do the same with him. Then, wouldn't he and Daji be together naturally? Very quickly, Yihua retracted his hand, then stood up and said faintly, Mother, I will go back and pack up. We will be leaving tomorrow. After finished speaking, Yihua turned around and left. Qian Yuqing felt a wave of disappointment. How good would it be if he could continue to be like that? Yuqing, don't worry. With Mother here, Yihua won't be able to run away. Lu Jing was supporting her daughter-in-law. As for Qian Yuqing, Lu Jing was a woman that she had seen in her eyes. If Yihua didn't want Qian Yuqing, it would be Yihua's loss. Qian Yuqing's lips twitched. Mother, Yihua and the royal family have fallen out. I'm afraid that we won't be able to get the spirit spring anymore. Sister-in-law, you don't have to worry about this. Big Brother said he would think of a way. That's good. Qian Yuqing was slightly relieved. If Yihua said that he can, then he will definitely be able to do it. Lu Jing patted the back of Qian Yuqing's hand and said, Yuqing, it's about time to go back. Don't let people talk behind our backs. Qian Yuqing was very depressed. She had clearly come to her husband's house, but she was still being gossiped about by others. Okay, I got it. Sister-in-law, let me see you off. Qian Yuqing nodded. The two of them walked out of the courtyard. At this time, Yi Juetian said, Sister-in-law, you have to be more ruthless. Little Tian, what's so fierce about it? Qian Yuqing asked curiously. It's the kind of fierce, pretending to be sick, looking as if he is about to die. Yi Juetian began to come up with ideas for Qian Yuqing. Qian Yuqing stopped her footsteps, seemingly thinking about Yi Juetian's idea. I feel that. It seems like there's a bit of chance. Last time, when I was about to die, Yihua came to save me. That day, I was in a daze and didn't notice it at all. If I pretend to be sick and then see that Yihua is concerned about me, then I can laugh out loud and say, you still dare to say that you don't love me. You clearly love me. Thinking about it, Qian Yuqing actually laughed foolishly. Sister-in-law? Sister-in-law? What happened to you? Don't scare me. Little Tian, you are really not bad. Your brain has become smarter this time. Qian Yuqing stretched out her hand and pinched onto Yi Juetian's face, then left Yi family happily. When Yihua comes back from the war, I will prepare this show. Yihua's family is just all kinds of swindlers. If I don't have some acting skills, I would really be embarrassed to say that I've lived in Yi family before. After returning to his room, Yihua was currently pondering. I, the army supervisor, am just an empty shell, and I am completely useless. The reason why they sent me over is because they want to get rid of me. How am I supposed to deal with their moves? This is indeed a bit difficult. The terrain at the border is truly a pit, and it has given Huang Yun a lot of convenience. If I were to make a move, it would be 5 million dregs, but what would be the consequences of that? If I am not wrong, it would be a deity who went to attack the demonic city. Wouldn't that be giving Huang Fei an advantage? I, the Supreme Overlord, even paved the way for him. I wonder how my Wushu Empire is doing right now. That Feng Tian should have arrived already, right? I wonder to what extent he will be tortured to. He will definitely be in despair. Sinful child, this emperor has ruthlessly scammed you, giving you the most difficult mission in history that has a difficulty coefficient of 10. 0. But I'm guessing that right now, this child must have been shocked by my city wall. At this moment, at the entrance of Wushu Empire's city, Sky-bearing Empire brought a friend over. This friend of his was very strange. He was wearing a white headscarf that covered his head, and even his entire body was covered, and there was even a string of prayer beads on top of his head. Just by dressing up like this, it was simply too strange. Beiwen, the city wall here looks a bit strange. Sky-bearing Empire stood at the entrance of Wushu Empire's city wall and said in a low voice. Beiwen raised his head and looked at the city wall, then looked at the white armored warrior beside him, then said faintly, not only the city wall, there's also a problem with these soldiers. Look at the sky above the city. Beiwen slowly closed his eyes and placed his hands together in front of his chest. Following that, Beiwen chanted an incantation. A terrifying ghost shadow actually appeared in the sky above Wushu Empire. Of course, this ghost shadow could only be seen by overlords. What is this thing? Sky-bearing Empire asked curiously. Beiwen said gravely, how many people must have died for such a terrifying soul to be formed? Beiwen, you are confusing me. Sky-bearing Empire scratched his head helplessly. This time, the reason why I called Bei went over was because I took a fancy to Beiwen's strength. Beiwen, this place is filled with resentment and hostility. I have never seen a city like this before. Beiwen appeared to be very vigilant. After all, he knew where this place was, Prince Ye's empire. Beiwen, we are only here to capture someone. After that, we will be fine. Beiwen wrinkled his brows, then chanted an incantation again, and the huge soul in the sky dissipated. The two walked into Wushu Empire and couldn't help but sigh. The sanitation of this place is really good. There is actually not a single speck of dust on the road. What is that thing? End of this chapter. Chapter 10:16. Sprinklers? And what are those who wear yellow clothes and sweep the floor? The layout of this place is so strange. The streets are actually so big, but they are not crowded at all. Everything here is very strange. Those guards are not humans at all. Baywin said gravely. A man's sixth sense was telling him that this Wushu Empire was not simple. Sky Bearing did not deny it and nodded. This place is indeed strange. Look at that imperial palace. It is even more imposing than Spiritual City's imperial palace. This prince, he sure knows how to enjoy life. As long as one entered the city, they would be able to see the tall imperial palace. This was also Yi Hua's initial design language. Standing at any angle in Wushu Empire, one would be able to see the towering imperial palace. Indeed, for those who came to Wushu Empire for the first time, they would all be stunned by such a scene. Even Sky Bearing and Baywin were the same. Baywin, we should hurry up and complete the mission. This is the most important thing. Baywin's gaze was filled with caution, and after a while, he could only nod his head. Sky Bearing actually called me over, and I even agreed to it. I can only brace myself and do it. After all, this is an order given by the Emperor, and disobeying the Emperor's order is no joke. Or rather, if I don't complete the Emperor's order, I will be in trouble. I hope that there are no powerful overlords in this Wushu Empire. There are no powerful overlords. There are only a bunch of underlings who kill without batting an eye. Right now, inside the Imperial Palace, Qinya and Dongwang Baiji sat on the two sides of the throne, and below them stood a bunch of underlings. Madam, the people sent by the god's realm have already entered the city, Wei Chong said respectfully. The subordinates listened quietly. This time, his honor actually went out to play alone and abandoned all of his underlings. Finally, it's time for something fun. Dongwang Baiji seemed to be able to sense the restlessness of these people, and she felt very helpless. Yihua's subordinates are getting better and better at playing. Wei Chong, do you have a plan? Qinya asked. Wei Chong cupped his hands and said, Madam, according to his honor's order, we need to control these two people and wait for his honor's order. Oh, Wei Chong, is this what Yihua told you? Dongwang Baiji asked confusedly. That's right, his honor found subordinate and said that if there are people from the god's realm coming over, then control them. That night, Wei Chong had already received Yihua's order, and Yihua had also guessed that Huang Feidy would make a move against him. Therefore, he decided to beat him at his own game. This was also a backup plan that he could use when the time came. Qinya nodded her head. Then, Wei Chong, you go and arrange this matter. Yes. However, his honor still has an order. When the time comes, I still need your two wives to act as hostages. Qinya and Dongwang Baiji laughed bitterly. This Yihua, what kind of scheme is he starting to play again? He actually made his wife act as a hostage. All right, all of you can disperse now. Qinya stood up and waved her hand, then returned back to the room at the back with Dongwang Baiji. Seems like Yihua is planning to let us go and meet Mother, Qinya said in a low voice. Dongwang Baiji nodded her head. That's right, we have to hurry up and take care of ourselves. Don't let Yihua's mother look down on us. Indeed, I have to give Yihua's mother a good impression. Dongwang Baiji appeared very serious. To them, meeting with Yihua's mother was a very important matter. Yihua's mother was their future mother-in-law, and finally, someone who was able to take care of Yihua has arrived. In the future, if Yihua were to bully people again, I will have to directly call for Mother to save me. Meanwhile, some of the underlings who walked out of the palace started discussing. If we tease those two a little, let them have a mental breakdown. Right now, Sky Bearing Empire and Baywin had already arrived outside of the palace. There were very few people living around the palace, and the main reason was that the housing prices here were too high, and only real nouveau riche would be able to afford it. After all, it was close to the palace. The two looked at each other, then instantly disappeared from where they were and entered the palace. The black armored warrior who was standing guard at the entrance completely pretended that he did not see them. After entering the palace, the two looked left and right, and their hearts were still slightly heavy. Because we know that this is Yihua's territory, we have to be vigilant. Who knows if Yihua is plotting something or not? If there is a plot, we will have fallen for it. Suddenly, a figure slowly walked over, and sky-bearing Empire and Bay, when immediately looked over. A husky with 3 flames on its head could be seen walking over slowly, and that arrogant footstep of the husky actually showed a rhythm of not recognizing anyone. Bay One and sky-bearing Empire felt a bit strange. What kind of dog is this? Why does it look so strange? It seems to have the attribute of being stupid. What kind of dog is this? It looks a bit like it has drunk fake wine. Sky-bearing Empire mumbled. However, they were also afraid that this husky would bark randomly. Baywin tightly wrinkled his brows as he looked at the husky. This dog actually walked over just like that, as if it treated me as heir. Right at this moment, a voice sounded out. This caused sky-bearing Empire and Baywin to immediately become vigilant. 2 people could be seen walking over while chatting. One was wearing a red cloak, and the other was wearing a green cloak. Aren't these the Green and Red brothers? Sky-bearing Empire stared at the Green and Red brothers. Looks like we're going to fight. Baywin nodded his head. I didn't expect that we would be discovered the moment we entered. Sigh. I haven't been able to enjoy these days. Ihong let out a heavy sigh. What is it again? It can't be because of that small matter, right? Lulu said with a light smile. Ihong nodded his head. Could it be because of something else? Recently, Zishan's temper is getting bigger and bigger, to the point that she even let me sleep outside, and when she gets pregnant, I can sleep inside. Then, I have a question. Yeah, I can't even sleep in it. How could she get pregnant? Ihong laughed, not even looking at the 2 of them. Sky-bearing and Bay, when watched as the 2 of them walked past them. His head was buzzing. What was going on? Was this really a royal palace? Did I go to the wrong place? The 2 of you wait. Sky-bearing Empire couldn't bear it anymore, and hurriedly called out to the Green and Red brothers to stop. LV Liang and Ihong stopped in their tracks and looked at the 2 of them in confusion. Sky-bearing Empire smiled and asked, May I ask the 2 of you, is this the Imperial Palace of Wushu Empire? Yeah, what about it? Ihong Tian said. In fact, he was laughing to death in his heart. These 2 idiots were too funny. Chung Tian and Bei, when looked at each other, and saw the confusion in each other's eyes. Aren't you curious about who we are? Baywin could not hold it in any longer. What kind of weird empire was this? A stranger came into the palace, and they did not even bother to ask about it. LV Liang and Ihong took a look at each other. Then LV Liang said, who are you guys? Is it related to us? Holy shit, they were actually left speechless. Where did your emperor go? Sky-bearing Empire began to inquire about the 2 of them. The 2 of them are definitely idiots. Ihong clapped his hands. Our emperor. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:17. Chung Tian and Bei, when we're waiting for Ihong to speak. I don't know either. Then who are you 2? Sky-bearing asked. We're just passing by. You guys are so weird. You really don't know anything. LV Liang pouted and walked away with Ihong. The 2 of them were left dumbfounded. Looks like we can enter and leave the royal palace normally in this voidless empire. That's right. Then why did we climb over the wall? We should have just walked through the main gate. Sky-bearing let out a light laugh. They had never seen such a weird palace before. Let's go find someone. All right. Following that, Sky-bearing and Bei swaggered into the palace as though they were strolling in their own backyard. At this moment, they saw 2 ladies leisurely walking over, causing Sky-bearing and Bei to stop in their tracks. These 2 ladies looked incomparably beautiful, and it was highly possible that they were Prince Ye's women, the concubines of the harem. This lord Yi really knows how to live. One of them was Zishan, and the other was Li Han. Stop right there. Sky-bearing coldly hollered. These 2 ladies actually treated them as thin air. The value was unbearable. Zishan and Li Han turned around and looked at the 2 of them, their eyes filled with doubt. Facing this imperial palace, Sky-bearing was filled with doubts. What's the matter, great heroes? Zishan asked with an innocent expression. Where's the empress of your imperial palace? Li Han touched his chin and said, You mean her highness? She's in the main hall. Sky-bearing, this was 2F** King easy. Shouldn't you have said that we would rather die than speak? Sky-bearing, We can't stay here for long. We will leave immediately after capturing them. Sky Bearing felt that sorrowful question was right. They could only hurry up and not stroll around aimlessly. After obtaining the information, Sky Bearing and Bay 1 came to the outside of the main hall. Standing at the top of the stairs, one could actually see the scenery of the entire Voidless Empire. This was truly a pretty good place. The two of them looked at each other and walked into the main hall. A silhouette appeared in front of them. From her attire, it could be seen that this woman was either the Empress or the Empress. However, we walked in just like that, and no one stopped us. This palace was simply too terrifying. It was so quiet that it felt like there was a ghost inside. "Hey, who are you?" Chung Tian shouted at the back of the figure. Qinya could be seen slowly turning around. Chung Tian and Bei Wen were instantly shocked by Qinya's beauty. This kind of feeling was similar to the first time they saw Qian Yuqing. That kind of appearance simply had no reason to be beautiful. The woman in front of him was on the same level as Qian Yuqing. "Who are you guys?" Qinya pretended to not know anything and asked curiously. Sky Bearing squeezed out a smile and asked, "Who are you to the Emperor?" "I am the Empress," Qinya said honestly. Bei Wen and Sky Bearing were extremely agitated. They had gotten it without any effort, but wasn't this a little too easy? It was better to be careful. "It's like this. We're here to invite the Empress. The Emperor is waiting for you outside the city. If they didn't have to fight, it was better not to. If they could use their mouth, they wouldn't use their hands." Qinya muttered, "I don't believe you. Yo, this Empress seems to have a brain. Those were all idiots just now." "Empress, it is definitely true that we are the Emperor's subordinates." Qinya smiled. Suddenly, the door of the main hall closed, and all the doors and windows in the surroundings closed as well. The entire main hall sunk into darkness. This caused Sky Bearing and Bei Wen's expression to sink. Suddenly, they felt four ferocious auras hovering above their heads. "Just what is going on?" Sky Bearing waved his hand. The entire main hall lit up in an instant. However, an inconceivable scene appeared in front of their eyes. Above their heads, there were four divine dragons hovering, and they were looking at us with vigilance. Where did these dragons come from just now? Bei Wen looked towards the red pillar. "Well, I just came here. There seemed to be divine dragons engraved on the pillar. However, those engraved things actually became alive. How is this possible? This is completely impossible. These are four worms, right? Am I seeing things? These are ancient mythological beasts." Sky Bearing rubbed his eyes. He felt that his view of the world had been turned upside down. The rarity of ancient mythological beasts was rather high, especially those of the dragon race. Basically, it was very hard to find one. And now, there were actually four of them, hovering above their heads, and even drooling. It looked as if it saw a big meal. "Empress, is there a misunderstanding between us?" Bei Wen said in a low voice. "I can't act recklessly at this time. If it was just one divine dragon, I can still fight against Sky Bearing. However, there are four of them. There is completely no need for me to fight against them." After speaking, Bei Wen looked around. That Empress disappeared just now. When did she disappear? I actually didn't know. Just as Bei Wen was feeling puzzled, the dog that he saw earlier walked out and actually stretched out its paw and raised up its middle finger. What does this mean? Although I don't know what that means, Sky Bearing and Bei Wen both felt that it is definitely not a good gesture. That disdainful gaze of the dog seems to be laughing at us. So boring. Another voice sounded out, and the green and red brothers could be seen walking out. "It's you guys." Following after, Zishan and Li Hun walked out. "It's you guys." Zishan and Li Hun spread out their hands. "I have never seen such stupid deities before." Meanwhile, Wei Chong, Lai Gu, Zhu Tian, and the others also walked out one after another. This caused Sky Bearing and Bei Wen to immediately feel pressured. The main hall was immediately filled with people. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji also appeared beside the throne. "Hurry up and pay your respects to your wife," Wei Chong said gravely. Right now, Sky Bearing and Bei Wen were unable to concentrate and think. Just what kind of place is this dragon's pool and tiger's den? Or is it a sheep pen? The possibility of the former is higher. Zhu Tian shouted out faintly, "Kneel!" A terrifying aura immediately pressed down on Sky, Bearing, and Bei Wen's body, and the two of them unconsciously kneeled down. At this moment, the four dragons that were spiraling above Sky, Bearing, and Bei Wen's head roared out, then coiled around the pillar. This scene caused Sky, Bearing, and Bei Wen to be dumbfounded. Is this even possible? Even the Emperor didn't do something like this before, to actually seal the divine dragons on the pillar. And these people, it was just a single word, but it carried such a terrifying pressure. And there was also this dog, to actually reveal the disdain of a king as well. I, Sky Bearing, am an imperial bodyguard, yet I am being looked down upon by a dog today. To look down on myself, that means that I am looking down on the Emperor. This crime is unforgivable. You guys came from the God's realm, right? Dongwang Baiji asked faintly. Following Dongwang Baiji's voice, Sky Bearing and Bei Wen raised their heads and took a look. When did another beauty come over? F***K. So beautiful. There are too many beauties in the surroundings. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:18. Just what kind of damn place is this? Also, how did she know that I came to God's realm? We are sent down by God's realm's emperor. If you are sensible, then let us go. Otherwise, all of you will die. Chung Tian shouted out. Right now, I can only bring out my backer. This should be of some use, right? I hope so. Dongwang Baiji laughed. God's realm's emperor? What is that? He is merely someone to play with. You actually dare to be disrespectful to his majesty. Who is this? You need to be clear of your own situation. Only then will you be able to live. Look at your accomplice beside you. He is so quiet. Lai Gu said with the look of a master. None of your business. Lai Gu raised his hand and slapped Chung Tian's face. This caused Bei Wen, who was at the side, to immediately shut his mouth. I wanted to say something just now, but it seems like there is no need for that anymore. I'm finished. These people are simply demons. No wonder so many ghosts appeared above the city when we just entered. It seems like it is them. This Prince Yi is indeed not simple. I have to report back this kind of information, but right now it is impossible to do so. Furthermore, their strength is so strong. Why are they hiding in Kangluo continent? There must definitely be some kind of conspiracy. Chung Tian wanted to run, but the pressure on his back was too heavy, and he was unable to stand up at all. Bei Wen, who was at the side, directly gave up resisting. I knew that something would happen. I felt it when I was standing at the city gate. This Prince Yi cannot be offended. The Emperor even wanted to capture Prince Ye's people. How is it possible for him to do so? This is great. I even lost my life. I'm finished. I'm finished. Just wait for His Majesty's rage. Lai Gu slapped Chung Tian again, causing him to feel dizzy. If not for his honor saying that keeping him alive is useful, I would have already pinched him to death. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji just sat there symbolically. Wei Chong, I will leave the two of them to you. Yes, your wife. Qingya and Dongwang Baiji disappeared from the spot. Wei Chong said faintly, Disperse, there is nothing fun here. Everyone let out a sigh, feeling that the previous Yang Haoyan was more fun to play with. These two were boring and instantly terrified. That Yang Haoyan's strength wasn't much, but he had a fearless spirit. Everyone left one after another, and in the end, only Wei Chong, Lai Gu, and Zhu Tian were left standing in the main hall. Wei Chong, just what is his honor playing up there? He didn't even bring us along to take a look. Lai Gu mumbled, indicating that his honor was enjoying the food by himself and not bringing his subordinates along for fun. Wei Chong said softly, I don't know either, but one of them is enough. Absolute Heaven, on the other hand, agreed. Indeed, one is enough. Two is too many. Then who are we keeping? Wei Chong looked at the Sky Bearing Empire and said, Just leave this arrogant one. Hearing Wei Chang's words, Bei Wen could no longer remain calm. He had been as obedient as a baby. Why did he have to spare this arrogant fellow? I can't accept this. Why didn't you let me stay? Sorrowful question could not help but ask. You guys are too much of a bully. simply shameless. Sky Bearing frowned. Bei Wen, what are you saying? If we survive. At this moment, Wei Chang's right hand began to squirm. From the looks of it, it looked just like a worm. Wei Chang's entire arm could be seen transforming into a monster, and his palm transformed into a big mouth. Those sharp teeth looked extremely terrifying, and they were even drooling. Looking at this thing, Bei Wen's face immediately sunk, and with a trembling voice, he said, "You are a Fun Sha." Wei Chang, in absolute heaven, paused for a moment. This person actually knows about Fun Sha. He seems to have some knowledge. However, Sky Bearing Empire, who was at the side, had a confused look on his face as he asked in a low voice, "What is this Fun Sha?" "Fun Sha. I didn't expect that there would be a Fun Sha. Ha ha." Bei Wen suddenly let out a desolate laughter, then closed his eyes, seemingly as though he had accepted this fate. Wei Chang naturally didn't hold back. The tentacle monster on his right hand landed on Bei Wen's head, then opened up its big mouth, and the mucus dripped onto Bei Wen's head, causing one's hair to stand on end. At the very least, Sky Bearing Empire, who was kneeling beside Bei Wen, felt this way. The tentacle monster was just like a snake as it swallowed Bei Wen's entire body, then fused into Wei Chang's body. Burp! Wei Chang let out a burp. It has been a long time since I last ate such high-grade food, and I'm starting to get addicted to it. Sky Bearing Empire swallowed his saliva. These are all demons. These are all fucking demons. He even ate people. Lai Gu and Zhu Tian had a helpless look on their faces. Within the entire team, only Wei Chang and Yi Zizi were eating humans. No, Yi Zizi was sucking humans, while Wei Chang was simply and crudely eating humans. Sky Bearing's next step was to lock him up and use him in the future. To Yihua, these weren't any dangers at all, and his guild would be able to deal with them in an instant. The dawn of the gods' realm rose once again. Today was the day Spirit Capital sent reinforcements. The entire Spirit Capital was filled with red flags, representing victory. 5 million soldiers had gathered outside the city, and a huge spell formation had already been activated. As long as the general arrived, he would be able to use the spell formation to teleport. They arrived at the front lines directly. Even if they were to go to war, they had to choose an auspicious time. This was also an ancient custom. As the army supervisor, Yihua was currently wearing the armor that was sent over last night. I, the Supreme Overlord, who had never said a vulgar word before, also wanted to say a vulgar word at this moment. If this armor is able to block a single arrow, I, the Supreme Overlord, would have eaten sh*t on a live stream. Also, why is this armor so hard to wear? If it wasn't for the fact that I have to wear it, I would have worn something else. Not only does it affect my coolness, it also affects my appearance. Especially when I wear the helmet, I look ugly to a whole new level. Big brother. Juetian pushed open the door and entered. Amen? Big brother. Mother came over and told me to send you off. You don't have to go and bid farewell to mother later. Yi Juetian said helplessly. Yihua was able to understand. All right, I understand. Tell mother that I will come back alive. Big brother, I believe in you. Mother's safety will depend on you. Don't let the emperor have his way. Yihua said gravely. Big brother, be at ease. There's me at home. There's also Daji. Juetian said happily. However, here comes the problem. Daji isn't even willing to pay attention to me. This is so boring. If Big Brother were to directly bestow it to me, that would be great. Yihua nodded his head, then straightened the helmet. Big Brother, you are so handsome. Yihua picked up the inferior sword at the side and walked out of the room. On the way out, Yihua only saw the servants and did not see his other brothers. As for Yishan, he did not appear at all. The only one who came to send Yihua off was Yi Juetian, his own younger brother. The horse that was waiting outside was already prepared, and Yihua directly rode on the horse. Let's go back. In a chapter. Chapter 1019. Brother, I'll be waiting for your triumphant return. Yi Juetian put away his frivolous smile and said solemnly. He patted his chest. Yihua lowered his head and looked towards his younger brother, then patted his chest as well. Soon after, Yihua squeezed his legs and ran towards the palace. Arriving at the entrance of the imperial palace, Yihua felt that this place really couldn't be compared to my own imperial palace. There's no style at all. Today was the day of the expedition, and all the civil and military officials had come to send them off. After all, this was the largest battle in history. He could not be underestimated. He couldn't let his guard down either. Yihua, who walked into the palace, had a cold look on his face, as if everyone owed him money. However, no matter how cold Yihua's face was, he still had to call out those who should be called out. Thus, Yihua just listened to the others shouting, "Lord Yi." Listening to it was very comfortable. At least these 3 words contained the word master. What is Grandpa? That was master. Wherever I go, I'm a big boss. Not satisfied? Come and fight. But it's going to hit you in the face. Prince Yi. At this moment, Huangli walked over to Yihua's side. Although it looked like a greeting, in actuality, they had already formed an alliance. Today, Huangli was wearing a set of silver armor, which was similar to the one that Yihua was wearing. Just that, there was an additional dragon accessory on the shoulder of the armor. Although it was just a small detail, it showed the difference between the royal family and outsiders. Yihua shouted out indifferently, "Eldest Imperial Prince, your complexion looks good today. Thanks to Prince Yi, I slept well." Huangli appeared to be very low-key, and this point made Yihua very satisfied. If you're asking someone for a favor, then you must have the attitude of asking someone for a favor. If you're asking someone for a favor, and you still put on a look of this is something that should be done, then Yihua would give you a slap on your face. Yihua nodded his head. The people who were walking by the side all saw this, and they felt that this Prince Yi and the big prince were working together. This time, the 9th prince had the initiative. If the first prince could turn the tables, there would be a good show to watch. The importance of the throne couldn't be demonstrated without a bloodbath in the battle for the crown prince's position. This gradually became a custom. When they set off, they did not hold the meeting in the main hall. Instead, they held it outside the main hall. From afar, Yihua saw a thing that was shining with golden light. Huang Yin went to the battlefield dressed like this. Were you afraid that others wouldn't know you were the boss? Truly showing off. Don't you want to stand on it? Yihua asked in a low voice. Huangli was a little embarrassed and said in a low voice, "The commander-in-chief just stood there. Then you have to work harder and try to stand on it as soon as possible. Only then will it be comfortable. With Lord Ye's help, of course it's possible," Huangli said respectfully. He was afraid of offending Yi Futian. Whether or not they could turn the tables depended on him. Yihua laughed lightly, then stopped talking. Huangli also quietened down. The reason why Yihua didn't speak was because he saw Qian Yi walking over. To this Qian Yi, Yihua was a bit hesitant. I plan to first leave this enemy here, then think clearly before making a move. This Qian Yi was a little troublesome. To think that he was Qian Yuqing's father. His luck wasn't just average. If he had known earlier, he would have just chopped him up. And then, he became a man who killed his wife and father. I, the Supreme Overlord, really do all sorts of evil. It felt so good, so exciting. All kinds of cheating on his wife. Qian Yuqing didn't come today. To be precise, there wasn't a single woman present. During this expedition, women represented inauspiciousness, so women were forbidden to appear. In this god's realm, there was also the phenomenon of men being superior to women. Even if they were gods, it was still the same. Suddenly, a golden light descended from the sky. Yihua squinted his eyes and looked at the golden light. This emperor's way of appearing is already outdated. It doesn't look cool at all. Your Majesty, blessings. All of the officials kneeled down, and only Yihua remained standing on the spot. You may rise. Huang Fei waved his hand heroically. However, when he saw Yihua, he felt unhappy. So many people are kneeling, and only you're not kneeling. It seems like you are not giving me face at all. If not for the promise that I made in the past, just because you are not kneeling, I have 10,000 excuses to kill you. There is no need for me to make any other plans. Thank you, Your Majesty. Huang Fei swept his gaze across everyone, then shouted out gravely, This time, Shanghai is invading. We must let the people of Shanghai take a look. Do you know the price you have to pay to provoke a sleeping lion? Your Majesty, blessings. Your Majesty is wise. Huang Fei was already tired of listening to all of these compliments. Let's begin, Huang Fei said faintly. The eunuch who was standing at the side took a step forward and said with his duck-like voice, "Worship the heavens." Yihua was a bit puzzled. This emperor of a deity believes in the heavens as well? This is truly a bit strange. Could it be that I have to find something to worship the heavens? This is truly too outstanding. Just like what Yihua thought, it is just an emperor worshiping the heavens. Yihua really wanted to say, "Why are you worshiping the heavens? You might as well worship me. I will teach you how to fight against Liu Ban." After a short while, Huang Fei finally finished worshiping the heavens. Yihua felt that he was about to fall asleep. If you continue on like this, I won't have that much patience. At that time, if you don't agree with me, I will start fighting. The heavens bless Lingdu. The heavens bless the deities. Huang Fei opened up both his arms, and a fan-shaped golden light immediately emitted out from his back. Along with Huang Fei's words, everyone shouted out loudly, "The heavens bless Lingdu! The heavens bless the deities!" Yihua sneered in his heart. If you're shouting out something useful, then why did you worship the heavens just now? At this moment, a palace maid walked over while holding onto the commander's seal. Huang Yun, who was standing at the side, was very excited. "This is the commander's seal." Huang Fei held onto the commander's seal and raised it up high. Faintly, dragon roars could be heard. Yu was a bit surprised. This commander's seal is actually an ancient god artifact. Huang Fei held onto the commander's seal and said gravely, "Bring back victory." This subject obeys. Huang Yin knelt down on one knee and raised both of his hands up high. Huang Fei placed the commander's seal onto his son's hands. Huang Yin slowly stood up and raised the commander's seal with both of his hands. "Victory! Victory!" The civil and military officials shouted out together, and the morale of the officials increased a bit. In any case, they aren't going to the battlefield, and they're just shouting out a few times. Yihua felt that if Qianni were to go to the battlefield as well, it would be a good opportunity. The auspicious time has arrived. Eunuch shouted out loudly. Huang Yin walked down the stairs, then looked towards Yihua and Huang Li. Yihua directly turned around and walked in front of Huang Yin. This caused everyone to be astonished. The commander is the greatest. How could Yihua not know of this? However, he was certain that you all wouldn't dare to speak. So what if I, the supreme overlord, walk in front of you? Do you have the guts to say no? Even Huang Yun, who was behind Yihua, wouldn't dare to speak out openly. Huang Yun didn't dare to speak out loud. Right now, even the slightest movement in the palace would be spread out. As an elder, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with Yihua walking in front of Huang Yun. If Huang Yun were to blame Yihua, it would be said that Huang Yun didn't sympathize with his elders. When Huang Fei saw Yihua's actions, he didn't say anything. After all, this was the last time that Huang Fei would be able to see Yihua. I won't lower myself to the level of a dead person. Chapter 10:20. The three of them immediately rode their horses and rushed out of the city. Yihua felt that this was a bit sloppy. Don't all the officials need to come out and send us off? Along the way, the three of them were welcomed and sent off by the citizens. However, as the commander-in-chief, Huang Yun remained behind Yihua. Everyone could see the depressed expression on Huang Li's face, but Huang Li had a smile on his face. As long as he could deal a blow to Huang Yun, everything else was nothing. However, after exiting the city, Huang Yun roared angrily and charged forward on his horse. After all, he couldn't lose face in front of so many soldiers. Yihua laughed lightly. "This is just a child. If you stand behind me, I will be crowned with the title of oppressor. The more aggrieved you appear, the more damage you will cause to me. That's why young people can't keep their composure and lack some wisdom." Huang Yin was very smart, but on the way here, he was about to go mad from anger. What wisdom was there to talk about? Right now, he even had the heart to kill Yihua. This damned Yihua. Sooner or later, I'll kill him. Let him know the power of your father, Huang Yun. Anyway, Imperial Father had already arranged everything. He just had to endure it, and it would be over soon. 5 million soldiers stood outside the city. This formation looked very huge. At a glance, it was impossible to see the end of it. If one looked down from the sky, the visual effect would be even better. As the commander-in-chief, Huang Yun stepped onto the platform. Yihua did not choose to stand on the platform, and Huang Li, who was beside Yihua, also imitated Yihua's actions. However, Yihua and Huang Li's actions almost caused Huang Yun to flip out. When the commander-in-chief spoke, as the deputy commander-in-chief and army supervisor, they stood behind him. However, what was this? He was the only one standing on the platform, as if there were no reinforcements. Huang Yun, who was enraged, took a deep breath. Yihua will be left to father to deal with. As for Huang Li, when the time comes, let him die in battle. To actually dare snatch the position of crown prince with my imperial cloud. Why don't you take a look at yourself first? Since you don't want to come up, then forget it. Soldiers, Huang Yun shouted loudly. Here, the angry roar of 5 million people soared into the sky, deafening. His aura instantly rose. Who is our enemy? Shanghai. What are we going to do? Kill. Your voice is too soft. I can't hear you. Kill, kill, kill. In that instant, the entire place was filled with a monstrous, murderous aura. The faces of the 5 million men were flushed red, and their blood was boiling. They wanted nothing more than to rush forward and kill the enemy. However, there were more than 20 people standing in front of the team on the right. Yihua had long noticed that these 20-plus people should be overlords. What are these people doing here? Prince Yi, don't you know? The battle this time is very likely to be for the sake of Peerless. They are here to stop the other party from stealing Peerless. Yihua wrinkled his brows. Of course I know. I am just testing you. Huang Li was speechless. Is this Prince Yi so humorous? How strange. Then this prince will test you again. What is the use of this supreme weapon? Huang Li was speechless. Duke Yi, supreme is a type of liquid that can allow one to break through from supreme being to supreme being. Yihua really didn't know about this. That night, he only heard from them that they were going to fight over some unparalleled item, but he didn't know what use the unparalleled item had. But from the looks of it now, it was indeed incredible. He had leveled up to Honorable Supreme Being, Supreme VIP 15. What a pity. I, the Supreme Overlord, am Supreme VIP 100. That Supreme VIP 15 of yours is still a bit lacking. It is something that I, the Supreme Overlord, can deal with a slap. What Supreme Overlord? The Supreme Overlord currently has the title of Supreme Overlord. That is because I temporarily can't find a title higher than Supreme Overlord. If I had a title higher than Supreme Overlord, I would naturally be able to change it. This kind of thing is just SOSO. Yihua said indifferently. Evidently, he didn't put it in his eyes. However, Yihua's words made Huang Li feel that Prince Yi likes to act cool. This kind of supreme, he actually doesn't like it. Could it be that this Prince Yi has already reached Honorable Supreme? In actuality, Yihua wanted to say that Supreme Overlord is nothing. I, the Supreme Overlord, will teach him a lesson. Huang Yun, who was on the stage, had already ignited the morale of the crowd. This made Yihua feel that this Huang Yun is not a nobody. He indeed has some ability. Everyone move out, Huang Yun shouted out, and a blue flag suddenly appeared on his hand. When the blue flag appeared, a black cloud appeared on top of his head. Rather than saying that it was a cloud, it would be better to say that it was some kind of void teleportation. Yihua ignored it and waited quietly. Very quickly, the black cloud completely descended onto the ground. The 5 million officers and soldiers were covered by the black cloud. Bayou. Everyone disappeared from where they were, and what was left behind was only a pile of footprints, which proved that there were indeed a lot of people here just a moment ago. Yihua felt that everything in front of him turned black, and when he opened his eyes, he was already at a completely different scene. Spirit City could be considered as a fairyland, with green mountains and clear waters. However, at the border, it was a world of difference. It was impossible to see the peak of the mountain that was soaring into the sky. This was the first time that Yi Hua had seen such a scene. This mountain was actually connected to the sky. If this kind of crack didn't appear, then the deities and demons would never be able to see each other. Over here, the ground was covered with yellow soil. Every time a gust of wind blew over, the yellow sand that was tens of thousands of feet tall would be blown up, and everything in front of him would be covered with a piece of gray and hazy land. However, these 5 million officers and soldiers were basically all defending the inland areas, and they had never been to the border before. This was the first time that they had seen such an environment, and they were still not used to it. Even Yi Hua started to wrinkle his brows a bit. This is just like going from a 5-star hotel to a one-off small hotel. This kind of difference is simply too big. On the other hand, my little sister is actually able to live here for over 1,000 years. This is truly not easy. This little sister, I, the Supreme Overlord, have determined that she is a man. No, she is a man. Yi Hua continued to size up everything in front of him. Right now, he was standing at the last gate of the defense. Don't think that this gate was small. This gate was over 1 kilometer long. The city wall was black, and it seemed to be made from some kind of metal. Strange runes were even covered on the surface of the city wall, and Yi Hua felt that those runes should belong to the category of defensive runes. Right now, he could only see this little bit of it. Right at this moment, the city gate in front of him opened. A beautiful figure could be seen directly jumping high up into the sky, then loudly landing onto the ground. A small hole was smashed out on the ground. If this wasn't Yi Yuanqing, who else could it be? Big Brother, Imperial General. Yi Yuanqing shouted out respectfully. However, Yi Yuanqing's words made Huang Yun unhappy again. This woman actually placed Yi Hua first again. Do you even know what a position is? Do you need this prince to teach you? If not for the fact that I still have some use for him, I would have directly stabbed him to death. MLG be easy. Yi Hua revealed out a trace of a smile, then walked forward and helped his little sister up. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Yuanqing's mouth. It was the kind of smile that one would have when one was doted on by their big brother. Chapter 10:21. Is it all right? Yi Hua asked faintly. And it is still all right now. Yi Yuanqing smiled faintly. With Big Brother here, I feel much more at ease. Huang Yun felt that he had lost a lot of face and said gravely, General Yi, bring me to see the defensive attack. Yi Yuanqing naturally had to listen to orders and said respectfully, General Huang, please follow me. Huang Yun's face was heavy as he nodded his head, looking very unhappy. Under Yi Yuanqing's lead, the few of them walked into the city wall, and all of the officers and soldiers were temporarily waiting for orders. The 20-plus Supremes naturally had to follow along to take a look. The terrain was also very important. After walking into the city wall, what appeared in front of them was a mountain forest. This was the first time Yi Hua had seen such a strange phenomenon. These mountains were shaped like a rhombus and pierced into the sky. They weren't very big, roughly 10 feet in diameter, and there were mountains like this every 30 feet. It should have been called a stone forest, but Yi Hua realized that these things were the same color as the surrounding mountains. It was very obvious that this place was originally a mountain, but why would such a gap appear? General Yi, how is the latest battle report? Huang Yun asked solemnly. He placed his right hand on his sun and moon divine breath. This sword also had a sheath, and it hid its aura very well. Replying to General, the people from Shanghai are stationed in an area 200 kilometers away. When Huang Yun heard this news, his brows slightly wrinkled. Do you know why? I don't know yet. The person who went to scout for information has not returned for a day, and I'm afraid that he is already dead. In the Supremes group, there was a thin man who said faintly, they should be waiting for the right time. Huang Yun paused for a moment, then turned his head and said, Shi Yun, are you talking about the right time for unparalleled to appear? Then, what does General Huang think? From Shi Yun's tone, it could be heard that he didn't like this ninth prince. When Yi Hua heard this, he wanted to laugh. This person called Shi Yun is quite interesting, to actually directly go against him. However, why do I feel that I have heard of this Shi Yun's name before? Yi Hua, who was puzzled, sized Shi Yun up, but he couldn't remember. Huang Yun was very angry, but there was nothing he could do. These Supremes weren't here to participate in the battle. They were here to snatch unparalleled, and they weren't within his jurisdiction. However, this was too disrespectful. No matter how powerful the people from Shanghai are, how can they be a match for me? Huang Yun snorted coldly and caressed his divine breath of sun and moon. The divine sword seemed to feel the anger of its master and let out a low cry. Ninth Prince, you have to be serious when dealing with your enemies. Don't let your guard down, Shi Yun advised. This Ninth Prince was a bit of trash. How could the Emperor dote on such a person? Today, Huang Yun's IQ was indeed a bit off. Right from the start, he was angered by Yi Hua, and thus, right now, his speech was a bit messed up. Using Yi Hua's words, "You're still too young." If you are able to remain calm and collected after watching Calabash Brothers save Grandpa for a few years, it means that you have already reached the pinnacle of your mental state. Huang Yun's face darkened. He was actually criticizing the commander-in-chief in front of so many people. Do you still have any respect for me? Do you still have any respect for Imperial Father? Don't underestimate the enemy. Back then, when you went down to take care of something, didn't you also come back with half of your men dead? Now, teach me not to underestimate the enemy. Following Huang Yun's words, Yi Hua laughed lightly. If I didn't guess wrongly, what Huang Yun is talking about should be what happened back then. Then, this Shi Yun is also one of the participants. No wonder I feel that this Shi Yun is very familiar. However, I am very confused. In my memory, Shi Yun is a bit fat, and this Shi Yun is very skinny. Huang Yun, don't forget this time, it was because your Imperial Father appeared that we came. Show some respect. Shi Yun shouted out coldly, completely not putting Huang Yun in his eyes. Huang Yun said faintly, "Seems like I poked your sore spot. If I were to encounter something like that, I wouldn't even have the face to raise my head." Over 100 overlords went, and in the end, less than half of them came back. Furthermore, all of them came back with injuries. Fortunately, Imperial Father kept that matter a secret. If not, if this matter were to be spread out, we would become a laughing stock. As the person involved, Yi Hua expressed that if I was a bit stronger back then, all of my men would be able to stay in Kangluo continent. I wouldn't even let a single person come back. You bunch of trash, if I were to kill you all right now, it would really be as easy as moving my fingers. However, it's quite interesting to watch you fight among yourselves. It would be even more perfect if you guys started fighting right now. Hearing Huang Yun's mocking words, Shi Yun looked as if he was about to attack. Huang Yun was also prepared. His right hand was already on the hilt of his sword. At most, we'll fight. I, Huang Yun, have never been afraid of anyone. Yi Hua and Huang Li stood at the side and didn't say a word. In their hearts, they were rather happy that Yi Hua and Huang Li could fight. Yi Yuanqing didn't say anything. Since his big brother didn't say anything, he didn't need to say anything either. Both sides were supreme being level characters, yet no one gave them a way out. It was as if they felt that they had lost face. However, at this moment, a soldier quickly ran over and shouted in front of Yi Yuanqing, "General, the enemy has moved." The situation was too sudden. They were still quarreling here, but the other side had already started to mobilize their troops. It was really funny. However, there was a way out of this situation. Huang Yun gave the order. Deputy General Huang, lead 1,000,000 soldiers to defend the right side of the city. General Yi, lead your men to defend the left side of the city. I'll defend the last line of defense. Just as Huang Li had guessed, Huang Yun had indeed arranged it this way. Going to the front to defend was simply courting death. He might as well bet all his troops on the front lines. In Huang Yun's eyes, war was sometimes a time to eliminate dissidents. Facing the commander-in-chief's words, no one dared to say no. Huang Li could only lead his men unwillingly. Meanwhile, Yi Yuanqing also began to give the order to gather all his men to the left side of the city. When Shi Yun heard such an arrangement, he sneered in his heart. People born in the imperial family knew how to play these little tricks, treating war as a child's play. If such an order were to spread to Lingdu, Yi Yuanqing's reputation as the ninth prince might fall again. If they won and returned in triumph, no one would say anything. However, if they failed, such an order would be considered a very low-level mistake and full of loopholes. Originally, Huang Yin wanted to go take a look. However, when he heard that the enemy had moved, he went to arrange his own defense. The entire frontier fortress began to mobilize nervously. Those 20 or so supreme beings didn't follow Huang Yin. Instead, they followed Yi Yuanqing to the left side of the city. Compared to the imperial family, these supreme beings preferred to deal with ordinary people. Of course, it was also for the sake of unparalleled. Once the war started, the killing intent would definitely gather here. Therefore, the first place that would appear would be outside the city. Chapter 1022. Yi Yuanqing first arranged for the 20-plus overlords to rest, while he prepared to discuss the countermeasures with his big brother. After all, this was a matter of life and death, and they couldn't be careless. Big brother, I'm afraid that Huang Yun's arrangement this time is to get rid of us. Yi Yuanqing walked beside Yi Hua and said softly. He understood Huang Yun's intention very well. Yi Hua nodded his head and said softly, "This armor is really uncomfortable to wear." After saying that, he lightly caressed the armor and changed it into a comfortable long robe. He had put on a show in Lingdu for others to see, but since he was at the front lines, there was no need for that anymore. Yi Yuanqing felt that his big brother's mentality was very good, and he wasn't worried about anything at all. Such a big brother gives people a strong sense of security, and I don't even need to worry about anything anymore. Let's go. Bring me to the top of the city wall to take a look. Yi Hua said faintly. All right, big brother, follow me. The two directly walked toward the city wall, and Yi Hua saw the scenery outside the city wall. There was a huge contrast here. When they first came here, the sky was filled with yellow sand. However, outside the city wall, there was actually a green grassland, and a gentle breeze blew over, bringing along a pleasant fragrance. Yi Hua thought that Shanghai was that kind of dark world, but he didn't expect that the environment here was the bad one. Yuanqing, have you been to Shanghai before? Yi Hua asked curiously. Of course not. Yi Yuanqing was a bit confused. Why did Big Brother suddenly ask such a question? I do want to go and see what Shanghai is like. Yi Hua laughed lightly. This deity and Shanghai had always been enemies, and the reason why it was called Shanghai was because the deities themselves called it Shanghai. Maybe Shanghai is just a deity that lives on the other side of Shanghai. Perhaps the people of Demonic City would also call the gods as devils. Who knows about all these? Big brother, let's not talk about this first. We need to plan properly. Yi Yuanqing said helplessly. Yi Hua placed both of his hands on the city wall and stared to the front. 5 million people attacking. If it was me, I wouldn't split up and attack. I would directly use 5 million people to attack a single point. It was not that Yi Yuanqing had not considered this possibility. As the defending side, they had no idea how the enemy had set up their formations. If it was really like what his big brother had said, and they directly attacked a city, the 1 million people on the other side would just be watching the show and would not be able to help at all. Yi Hua continued. Initially, Huang Li said that if we were to directly send these 2 million people out of the city to fight against the enemy head-on, the chances of us winning would still be very slim. However, there is still a possibility of us winning, and it would all depend on how we set up the army. Going out of the city to face the enemy. Big brother, isn't this a bit too dangerous? Yi Yuanqing was a bit worried. The risk was too big. Yi Hua nodded his head, agreeing with what Yi Hua said. No matter what method we use, in actuality, our chances of winning are not that high. Furthermore, the purpose of the people from the demonic city to invade the demonic city this time around isn't to attack the demonic city, but rather, it is for the sake of Supreme. We're defending at the front. Although we only have 1 million people, from this one ratio, we can also kill 2 million. That imperial cloud brought 3 million people to defend against 3 million enemies. It should be more than enough. It is very difficult to capture this place, but we are cannon fodder for imperial cloud. This imperial cloud is truly infuriating. Yi Yuanqing hammered onto the city wall fiercely. The people from the royal family just like to scheme and scheme against each other. Yuanqing, being angry is useless. I feel that we can try Huang Li's method, give up on defense. Big brother, doing this is too dangerous. Yi Yuanqing felt that if they were to defend, they would at least be able to kill a bit more people. If they were to take the initiative to attack, it would be too dangerous. Could it be that they really want to exchange 1 for 1, and then let Imperial Cloud take advantage of the situation? Don't worry, I'll make it seem less dangerous. Yihua said in a low voice. In actuality, when I came here, I had already thought about it. If I want to cause trouble, I have to do this. I will just treat it as cheating. Hearing what his big brother said, Yi Yuanqing was startled. Big brother, do you have an idea? I have a small idea. Let's take a look first, you can be at ease. Yihua lightly patted onto his little sister's head, causing the soldiers at the side to be startled. General Yi is a tigress. This is the first time I've seen someone pat on a General Ye's head, and even made General Yi put on a weak look. Most of the officers and soldiers didn't know Yihua, and only some of the veterans had heard of Yihua before. Big brother, I am your little sister. Tell me about it. Yi Yuanqing actually acted coquettishly, causing the officers and soldiers around to feel that this General Yi is probably a fake General Yi. My God, our General Yi actually acted coquettishly. This is too scary. I have never seen General Yi act coquettishly before, and this caused all of the officers and soldiers to be shocked. Maintaining your demeanor in front of your subordinates. Look at you. Yihua reprimanded lightly. Yi Yuanqing pouted her mouth and said in a low voice, stingy big brother. After hearing that, Yihua laughed lightly. Is this the feeling of having brothers and sisters? This is indeed very comfortable. I discovered that I am no longer lonely, and I also have a family member. Thinking back to back then, during Chinese New Year, I would always be envious of other people's family reunion, while I would eat a meal with Wei Chong and a dog, then watch Chinese New Year's gala. God knows how depressed I was back then, to the point where I even had the mood to smash the TV, but I actually couldn't even get a family reunion. But now I have a mother, a blood brother, and a little sister. Forget about the rest. I don't have any good feelings towards them. Report. Yi Yuanqing retracted her ladylike demeanor and asked gravely, what's wrong? Shanghai is stationed 100 miles away from here. Understood. Go and report to General Huang. Yes. Yi Yuanqing looked towards Yihua and asked, Big brother, just what kind of tricks are Shanghai's people playing? Yuanqing, no matter what kind of tricks they are playing, in front of absolute strength, they're all paper tigers. Yi Yuanqing rolled his eyes. Big brother, after coming back this time, I discovered that you like to boast. Yihua gave Yi Yuanqing a profound smile, causing Yi Yuanqing to be very speechless. Big brother already has a plan in his heart, but he just doesn't want to say it to me. Prince Yi, General Yi. At this moment, Huang Li also rushed over. The defense of the right side of the city had already been arranged. Yihua took a faint glance at Yi Yuanqing and didn't say anything, but Yi Yuanqing still greeted the big prince. Towards Yihua's attitude, Huang Li didn't feel disgusted, and he didn't even feel a bit angry. Huang Li hurriedly asked in a low voice, Prince Yi, do you have a plan? I haven't thought of it yet. Yihua said faintly. After Yi Yuanqing, who was at the side, heard what Yihua said, he was very puzzled. What does big brother mean? Didn't he say that he has a plan? Just now? Why did Huang Li say that he doesn't have a plan the moment he arrived? After hearing what Yihua said, Huang Li immediately became disappointed. However, Yihua still said, if Shanghai attacks us, we will go out of the city and face them head-on. Huang Li, who was disappointed just now, seemed to have been revived. All right, it is better than standing on top of the city wall and waiting for death. Perhaps, if we take a gamble, there might still be hope. Chapter 1023. Yi Hua nodded his head. The best defense is actually offense. Don't think that standing on top of the city wall and defending will give you a huge advantage. Although the weapons here are all cold weapons, any slash from them is still very powerful. The other party might even have the help of ancient godly beasts. Whether or not they can trade one for one was still a problem. However, Yi Hua still added a sentence. If you go out of the city to fight, that means that you have disobeyed the order. You should all know the consequences, right? As long as we can win, it is not a problem. Huang Li patted his chest. Huang Yun's order is so deceptive. When the time comes, there will naturally be people who will criticize him. Then, Big Prince, quickly go back and prepare. Yi Hua said faintly. All right, Prince Yi, General Yi, I will go back first. Huang Li seemed very excited. As long as I pull Yi Hua and Yi Yuanqing to my side, I should be able to seize the position of the crown prince. However, Huang Li also understood one thing. If I ascend to the throne, Yi Hua will also be a threat. This is also the reason why Father Emperor wanted to get rid of Yi Hua. After Huang Li left, Yi Yuanqing asked softly, Big brother, don't you have a plan? Yuanqing, I have never trusted the people of the royal family, and this big prince will not be able to return alive. Yi Hua said faintly. Although his tone was flat, it was filled with an aura that made people believe him. Hearing what his big brother said, Yi Yuanqing's face was filled with surprise, and she couldn't help but swallow her saliva. I can't understand. Why kill Huang Li and not Huang Yun? From the looks of it, Huang Li seems to be an ally. Isn't the enemy of an enemy a friend? Don't think about it. Just leave everything to Big Brother to deal with. Go and call someone to cook. I'm a bit hungry. All right. Yi Yuanqing was looking forward to what her big brother was going to do. Big brother is so charming right now. If I wasn't the little sister, I would have fallen in love with Big Brother. I no wonder Big Sister-in-law is so infatuated with Big Brother. A man like Big Brother is really rare in this world. Since her big brother was here, Yi Yuanqing decided to personally cook some dishes for her big brother to go with the wine. Yuanqing, your cooking is not bad. Yi Hua still had to praise his little sister. Hearing her big brother praising her, Yi Yuanqing seemed to be very happy as well. Then she muttered, Big brother, just say it, please. After hearing that, Yi Hua didn't say anything. Yi Yuanqing couldn't accept it and walked over to Yi Hua's side. Yi Yuanqing then held on to Yi Hua's hand and waved it. Big brother, just say it, little sister wants to hear it. All right. Yi Hua is convinced that this big brother sounds better than Big Brother. Seems like Yi Hua also has the plot of doting on his sister. If Yi Jueqian knew about this, he would definitely be unhappy. He was Yuanqing's younger brother, and he only listened to Big Brother scolding him. How could he treat Yuanqing so well? After that, Yi Hua would definitely say, if you become a woman, I can also do the same. Facing this half-sister of his, Yi Hua was also helpless. All right, sit down, I'll talk. Thank you, Big Brother, eat more. Yi Yuanqing used all of his strength to put more food into Yi Hua's bowl. If it was in the past, Yi Yuanqing would definitely not be like this. In the past, Big Brother would never talk to him like this. After losing his memory, Big Brother was much better than before. I plan to go take a look tonight, Yi Hua said faintly. Yi Yuanqing screamed and immediately said, No, Big Brother, you can't go. Oh, why not? Yi Hua wanted to hear it. Yi Yuanqing said gravely, Big Brother, the Emperor clearly wants your life again this time. He will definitely send people over. Who knows, there might already be spies around us. If Big Brother goes out, it will be very dangerous. Yuanqing, aren't you curious about what Big Brother is going to do? In any case, I won't allow it. Yi Yuanqing snorted. Big Brother's way of thinking is truly terrifying. The feeling of being worried by others sure feels good. In the past, Qinya and the others would also worry about me. But in the end, they no longer worry about me. Instead, they're worried about whether or not the enemy will be in a miserable state. Yi Hua said faintly, I plan to go look for the enemy's commander to have a talk. What? Then, convince him to cooperate with us. Yi Hua's tone seemed to be saying that he was going to make a trip to his mother's house and bring back some chicken, duck, and fish. Yi Yuanqing felt that her big brother must have gone mad. to actually go and convince someone else's commander. Big brother, stop messing around. If something were to happen to you again, wouldn't Aunt Le go crazy? Yi Yuanqing said worriedly. That's because you don't understand Big Brother's strength. Big brother, if I'm not boasting, I am still your little sister. This little sister of mine is just like Qinya back then. In any case, she just doesn't believe in how strong I am and is afraid that I will get hurt. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. I have already decided. Hearing her big brother's words, Yi Yuanqing became angry and stopped talking. In any case, her face was filled with unhappiness, and she felt that her big brother was going to die. After a long time, Yihua said lightly, "What's wrong? Are you angry?" "How would I dare to be angry at Big Brother?" Yi Yuanqing pouted her mouth. Yihua stretched out his hand and patted onto Yi Yuanqing's head. Yi Yuanqing pouted her small mouth. She didn't dislike Yihua's action and felt that it was very comfortable. After this matter is over, I will bring mother and little brother to Kangluo continent. Yi Yuanqing blinked her big eyes and seemed to be a bit disappointed. "Big brother, aren't you going to stay? The previous Yihua is already dead. This is no longer my home. My home is at another place," Yihua said faintly. The topic of the conversation immediately became sad. After hearing that, Yi Yuanqing didn't say anything. "In the future, if you miss Big Brother, you can come down and take a look. Big Brother will always welcome you." Yihua laughed lightly. "And I understand." Yi Yuanqing lowered her head and said. After that, Yihua didn't say anything, and the atmosphere became quiet. "Excuse me for disturbing the two of you." Just when the atmosphere was quiet, Shi Yun's figure appeared at the door. Yihua turned his head and looked towards this enemy who had successfully lost weight. Should I pinch him to death right now? After taking a look at Shi Yun, Yihua continued eating. Meanwhile, Yi Yuanqing stood up and cupped his hands, which could be considered as a greeting. "What's the matter?" Yi Yuanqing asked lightly. Shi Yun said faintly, "General Yi, according to my calculations, the day of dog eating will be 3 days later. The yin energy on that day is the heaviest, and the people from Shanghai will most likely attack on that day. I hope that General Yi can make a plan as soon as possible." "And thank you, Shizun." Yi Yuanqing cupped his hands and said. Shi Yun also cupped his hands, then took a look at Yihua and left. However, Shi Yun, who left, was very puzzled. "Why does this Prince Yi give me a familiar feeling? This is truly a bit strange. Every time I see him, I can't help but want to take a few steps back. Just what is going on?" "Big Brother, they will be coming 3 days later," Yi Yuanqing said gravely. "That's right, those 10 million people probably don't even know that in actuality, they are just baiting out the supreme material." Yihua let out a deep sigh. "In the past, other people would often say that I, the supreme overlord, am inhumane, but looking at me now, in the end, I am inhumane." Chapter 1024. After hearing what Yi Yuanqing said, Yi Yuanqing remained silent. "Big Brother is right. The whole thing is just a pretense. The main point is to create the supreme. However, this is not something that I can control. I can only listen to orders. Big Brother, do you have a way to prevent this battle from happening?" If it was possible, Yi Yuanqing naturally didn't want to see his subordinates die. Yihua took a sip of wine and said faintly, "Yuanqing, I can't guarantee that a person will die." Yi Yuanqing let out a light sigh and took a sip of wine too. The brother and sister drank the wine silently, and soon after, Yihua went to rest. Yi Yuanqing still had a lot of work to do, but this was the first time he was going to be checked after drinking. In the military camp that was 100 miles away, the entire plain was filled with small tents. But in the middle of these tents, there was a tent that was different from the others, and it was much bigger than the others. With just a look, one could tell that it was the commander's tent. Inside the tent, the floor was made of silk wood. This kind of wood had the effect of keeping one warm in winter and cooling in summer. This was also an essential item for the army. A man could be seen kneeling beside a long table. The man was wearing a silver armor, and the helmet was placed on the right side. The marks of time could be seen on his face, and there were quite a lot of scars on his face, but those scars couldn't cover his handsome face. When he was young, he was definitely a handsome young man. There was a scroll on the table, and the handwriting on it was obvious that it was not written by a human. The handwriting was twisted, and there was nothing similar about it. If Yihua's previous life was still here, he would definitely recognize this man. The first time we got exterminated was caused by this man. His name was Jing Tiandi, and at the same time, he was also a prince of Shanghai. He was the emperor's blood brother. In front of Jing Tiandi, there was a young man who was kneeling. The young man looked quite similar, and this young man was his son, Jing Tiandi. Father, there is still 100 miles left, Jing Tiandi said gravely, and a trace of weakness flashed past his face. Jing Tiandi said faintly, in the military camp, call me General. Jing Tiandi paused for a moment, then said, General, my army is still 100 miles away from the border. Jing Tiandi slowly closed his eyes, then suddenly opened his eyes. Wait, General, is it worth it? If we do this, it is worth it, Jing Tiandi said seriously. That unparalleled, can it really save Mother's life? If the price is paid and Mother's illness doesn't get better, as long as there's hope, it's worth a try, Jing Tian said in a low voice. Martial God gritted his teeth when he saw the determination in his father's eyes. His father had used his own life in exchange for 5 million attacks. Of course, this was also a request made by the emperor, because heaven and earth shaking was a supreme being. Back then, he was the one who killed Yihua. At that time, he was already a supreme overlord. Shockwave God found it strange. His father had promised the emperor that he would die on the battlefield, but there were only honorables in the enemy's lineup. There was no supreme honorable at all. How could they kill his father? In the end, he finally learned from his father that sometimes benefits outweighed everything else. It was the same between emperors. Martial God Shockwave was shocked. So this war was arranged by the two emperors. It was to get rid of the eyesore. He was just looking for an honorable excuse. This made Martial God Shockwave's bladder go numb. They could even use war as a show. This was simply not treating soldiers as human beings. That was why Martial God Shockwave asked his father if it was worth it. These are your subordinates, father. Do you have the heart to send them to their deaths? In the end, he even purposely let the enemy kill him. Only then would he be able to report back to the emperor. As for me, I can only drag father's corpse back. Mother is alive, but father, you're gone. This is the son. What's the difference? In actuality, everything that happened this time was a conspiracy between the two emperors. To be more precise, the Demon City's emperor first looked for Huang Fei for help. Huang Fei was originally hesitating, but in the end, Yihua came back. After all, this was a win-win situation. Not only would he be able to get rid of the eyesore of both sides, he would also be able to see the death of the enemy's expert. That was why Huang Fei had a request. Yihua, Yi Yuanqing, he must die. These two are the biggest scourges, especially Yihua. I must kill him. Huang Fei had put in a lot of effort. Not only did he call the enemy's supreme honorable, he even called his own supreme honorable as well. She was determined to kill Yihua outside without leaving any face for Yihua. As for who the supreme honorable belonged to, the two emperors didn't say anything. In actuality, they understood that the other party would definitely fight for it. Then, the fate of the supreme honorable would depend on heaven's will. General, I will take my leave first, Martial God said respectfully. Martial God nodded his head, then left with his back bowed. After his son left, Martial God's expression became heavy. In actuality, ever since the emperor told me to kill the person, my mood has been unable to remain calm. That Yihua from back then, the man that I killed 1,000 years ago, why did he come back after 1,000 years? Could it be that he didn't die back then? How is that possible? Yihua was clearly dead, his heart meridians were all broken, and even his primordial spirit was shattered. Yihua was already dead, and now he is actually telling me that he didn't die. Martial God was very surprised. However, regarding killing Yihua again, Martial God was rather confident. No matter if it was the genius from back then or the genius from back then, it was all the same. The most important thing this time was this map. However, this map wasn't about the supreme honorable. It was about a higher level of information. Even Martial God didn't know what it was. However, the few words at the front of the map, Martial God tried his best to figure out what it meant. It was roughly the time when the supreme honorable opens. After that, Martial God didn't know that these words weren't left behind from this era at all. Martial God felt that these words might be from the prehistoric era. If this is really the case, then this map is definitely a good thing. If I am able to get my hands on this map and give it to my son, then it will be worth it. If I am able to ensure the safety of my son and mother, then my sacrifice will be worth it. Martial God took a deep breath, then kept the map on the table. He then sat cross-legged and slowly closed his eyes. Martial God, who walked out of the tent, looked at the stars in the night sky and felt extremely depressed. If it was possible, I wish that I was an ordinary person. That kind of ordinary life is what I want. Martial God. Suddenly, a small voice sounded out from the side, and a person who was wearing a helmet could be seen calling out from the side. Martial God was like a deflated balloon, and he walked over helplessly. However, that person immediately hugged onto Martial God. Martial God, there are a lot of mosquitoes here. Who asked you to be disobedient and actually sneak into the army? If I am discovered, Father will definitely blame me. Although Martial God said this, he still lovingly rubbed onto the woman's face. Chapter 1025. I can't leave you. We're already engaged. You can leave whenever you want. I'll follow you wherever you go. I don't care. The sky was dark, and they couldn't see the woman's face, but they could tell from her voice that she was a beauty. She had a nice back, too. She must have a good body. Bayou was a real beauty. She was one of the top beauties in Magic City. She and Martial God grew up together, but there was a big gap between them. This gap came from her family backgrounds. Martial God was a member of the royal family, while Bayou was just a merchant's daughter. They met on the street when they were young and became playmates. Luckily, Martial God was a loyal man. He didn't let Bayou down. After 81 difficulties, he finally begged his parents to let him marry Bayou. Honestly, Bayou was definitely attractive. It was just that her family was a little small. I really admire you. You're still the same as when you were young. Lower your voice. Martial God was very mature in front of his father, but in front of the girl he liked, he was like a child. Bayou pulled his hand. Martial God, let's go sit on the mountain behind. The night view is good. I've just tried it. You. Martial God scratched his fiancée's nose. This woman was always thinking of him. It was as if she would try something fun first and only call him if she thought it was fun. She wouldn't say anything bad at all. Let's go. Okay, let's sneak away. We can't be found, Martial God said seriously. Bayou blinked her naughty eyes. She looked very cute. The two acted as if they'd agreed. Martial God walked in front while Bayou followed in men's armor. This had happened before. They'd sneaked away like this before. The guards of the barracks seemed to be used to it. This young general often did such things. Some of the veterans had watched the young general grow up and brought girls out to play since he was young. However, this girl had never changed. They were truly a perfect match. The two flew to the mountain peak, not far away. Bayou took off her helmet, and her beautiful long hair hung down naturally. Shockwave, who was standing behind her, seemed to be mesmerized. Every time he saw Bayou take off her helmet and let her hair fall down, he felt that she was really beautiful. He really couldn't get tired of looking at her, especially under the starry sky. Bayou giggled as she ran and danced on the grass. Martial God, what are you still standing there for? Hurry up and come over. Bayou giggled. This fool was truly adorable. Oh, okay. Martial God walked up to Yihua. Of course, I can't learn from my fiancé how to dance. I have done such a stupid thing in the past. It is so embarrassing. We'll lie down. All right. Under Bayou's command, Martial God Shockwave laid down on the grass while Bayou lay in Martial God Shockwave's arm. Is it beautiful? Bayou asked curiously. Martial God Shockwave looked at the sea of stars. It was indeed beautiful. This kind of scenery could only be seen at the border. Shanghai didn't have such a starry sky anymore. Beautiful, martial god Shockwave whispered. Bai was a little confused. She had noticed that something was wrong with Martial God ever since they came out, but she was afraid that Martial God would find her annoying, so she didn't ask. The conversation between the two of them suddenly became quiet. Bai, this war is different from before. You can't follow us anymore. Do you understand? Shockwave God said solemnly. He was serious and serious. He wasn't joking at all. Bai also knew that 5 million soldiers were mobilized on an unprecedented scale, so she was more worried about Martial God than usual. She was afraid that something would happen to Martial God. Okay, I got it, Bai said in a low voice. When it came to proper business, Bai was very obedient. This kind of woman could distinguish the occasion. When it was time to act coquettishly, when it was time to act coquettishly, when it was time to be sensible, when it was time to be sensible. Good girl. Martial God smiled and stroked Bai's hair. Bai weakly asked, Martial God, I feel uneasy. Why did even father have to come out this time? Martial God really didn't want to tell Bai about some dirty plots. Even he felt disgusted by these things. Because we were going to attack someone else? Father is the #1 general of Shanghai, so of course he has to be the commander. Martial God smiled, but he knew that this was a trap. Everything was a lie. But they didn't provoke us, so why do we have to attack them? I don't understand. Bai hoped for peace. She didn't want war, but things often didn't go her way. Martial God chuckled. I've been thinking about this too. Martial God, tell me the truth. Did father lead the army this time because of mother's matter? Martial God admired his fiancée's brain. She even found out about this. But thinking about it, it was normal. Father hadn't been on the battlefield for thousands of years. He was in retirement and had been looking for a way to cure mother. Bai knew about this. Bai, don't worry. Father and I will take care of mother. Martial God comforted her. But I feel that I can't help you at all in this family. All I could do is cook for you. I'm so useless. Bai blamed herself a bit. I don't understand the things that happen in Martial God's family, and sometimes I don't even understand what he's saying. Idiot, I like you, but I didn't ask you to come to our family to help us. Furthermore, you solved our 3 meals and saved our lives. You are our family's greatest hero. Hearing Martial God's words, Bai laughed. You only know how to make me happy. That is my lifetime's honor. This Martial God's flirting skills are not ordinary. No wonder Bai is so dead set on him. Suddenly, a strange smell entered the two's nose. Martial God, do you smell a strange smell? Bai wrinkled her brows. What is this smell? It smells so bad. Martial God also smelled the smell. Just a moment ago, it was the smell of grass, but now it changed. Just what is this smell? Martial God sat up and felt the direction of the wind. Then he looked to his right and saw a spark in the darkness. Green smoke was coming out of the spark, and that spark seemed to be a human figure. Martial God was astonished. When did this person come? I didn't even feel it. After the astonishment, Martial God immediately pulled Bai behind him, then looked at the shadow vigilantly. Bai also saw the shadow, and her gaze was filled with doubt. This person doesn't seem to be a bad person. If he was a bad person, he would have long launched a sneak attack on me. Chapter 10:26. Who are you? Warshak God shouted out fiercely. Warshak God had already pulled out the weapon on his waist, and immediately, a terrifying pressure was emitted out from the weapon. How could the weapon of the Supreme Overlord's son be ordinary? Hiding behind Warshak God, Bai looked at the shadowy figure with a slightly nervous expression. In actuality, Bai really wanted to tell Warshak God that this person probably wouldn't harm us. If he really came to harm us, then he wouldn't be acting like this. It could only be said that women's way of thinking was very unique. Those who met Yihua all said that Yihua was a good person. This caused Yihua to be very vexed. How could I possibly be a good person? In my eyes, a good person is a derogatory term. Come out. Don't try to act mysterious here. Warshak God shouted out angrily. The long sword in his hand seemed to have sensed its master's anger and became irritable, causing the grass and the surroundings to move without any wind. Yihua took one last puff of the cigarette and flicked the cigarette but out of his hand. In the pitch-black night, using a finger to flick away the cigarette but would produce beautiful sparks, and the sparks would also fall down in an arc, creating a very beautiful scene. Yihua slowly walked out from the darkness, and Wershok God and Baiyu finally saw the appearance of the shadowy figure. Both of them revealed a rather stunned expression. It couldn't be helped with Yihua's appearance. If Yihua were to wear women's clothing, he would definitely be a big shot in women's clothing. In actuality, Yihua was preparing to observe the situation of the enemies, which was why he chose to stay here. But he never expected that there would actually be a pair of lovers here. Listening to their conversation, this man's position is very high. He is the son of the commander of this place. My luck is truly too good. Should I capture them now and directly use them to threaten them? This is indeed something that a bad person should do, but it is rather degrading. I have always been someone who wins people over with virtue, and I have never acted recklessly. He is so handsome, Baiyu exclaimed in a low voice. This caused Wershok God to want to roll his eyes. Even at this time, you are still saying that someone else is handsome. Do you think that I, your fiancé, am nothing? But I feel that my Wershok God is even more handsome, Baiyu added. Hearing this, Wershok God's heart immediately calmed down. After hearing what Baiyu said, Yihua laughed lightly. Little girl, don't say things that you don't mean. That's what I said, right, Martial God? Baiyu laughed. Shok was about to faint. How could Baiyu be so carefree at a time like this? Couldn't she be more serious and not chat with the enemy? Who are you? Why are you here? Wershok God asked. Judging from the man's clothes, he should be a noble. He gave off a scholarly aura, and if he was holding a folding fan, he would look even more charming. F***CK. What was I thinking? I was actually led astray by Baiyu. Yihua said faintly, I am your opponent. Martial God Shockwave didn't react for a moment. Opponent? Yes, I'm the army supervisor of the God's realm. I'll come and take a look at your team. Spy. Wershok God cried out in alarm, and the sword in his hand pierced straight towards Yihua's head. However, Yihua didn't move at all. Seeing that the spear was about to pierce through Yihua's head, Wershok God was delighted. Yihua is a general of the enemy. If I can kill him, then I will have made a great contribution. It was a good idea, but if Yihua could be killed so easily, he would have died countless times already. The tip of the sword could be seen to be unable to pierce through Yihua's head. It was as if there was a special barrier protecting Yihua's head. This caused Wershok God's expression to darken. My sword is an ancient godly artifact. No matter how trashy it is, it shouldn't be as weak as it is right now, right? What a little brat who doesn't fear death. Yihua said faintly. Immediately, Wershok God felt a rebounding force, and his entire body was sent flying, sliding towards Baiju's feet. Martial God, are you all right? Baiyu asked anxiously. This was the first time she had seen her martial god being beaten up so miserably. In her heart, martial gods were well-known figures amongst the younger generation. Indeed, in the demonic city, Wershok God was a person with relatively high talent, and his status was similar to Huang Yun's. Both of them were people with extraordinary talent. Wershok God didn't feel any discomfort. He only suffered from the rebounding force just now. It's just that his back was a bit itchy from the friction just now. Based on my temper in the past, you would already be a dead man by now. Yihua said faintly. What Yihua said was the truth. However, Yihua also knew that this young man was the chief commander's son, and this time, in order to make the chief commander listen to him, if he killed the chief commander's son, how could he make the chief commander listen to him? Therefore, Yihua decided to keep this young man alive. I don't have any information that I can tell you. Even if I do, I won't tell you anything. Wershok God said solemnly. No, I'm not here to ask you for information. Yihua said faintly while slightly raising his head and looking at the starry sky. The starry sky here is indeed very beautiful. It is very suitable for people to fall in love and whatnot. Then, what are you here for? Baiyu, who was behind Yihua, said in a low voice. Could it be that you are here to look at the stars like us? Worshak God, Yihua said faintly. If it is possible, the reason why I came here tonight is to meet with your chief commander. Worshak God went into a daze for a moment. This time, I heard that there is such a thing. Could it be that the enemy's army supervisor came here to meet with the chief commander? Why are you looking for the chief commander? Worshak God asked gravely. Of course, I am here to talk about the matter regarding the battle this time. You can tell me then. I'm not interested in youngsters who don't even have hair on their bodies. Right now, there are 2 paths in front of the 2 of you. The first path, I will go and look for the chief commander. Don't stop me. The second path, you guys go and call the chief commander over for me. After all, the chief commander isn't very honorable. Yihua said, hurry up and call the chief commander over. My patience is limited. Moreover, when adults are discussing matters, children should stay at the side. In Yihua's eyes, the 2 of them were just children. Impossible. Worshak God seemed to be very stubborn. This caused Yihua to be very vexed. I still prefer to deal with smart people. For example, Huang Feidi. Huang Feidi was rather smart, and it wasn't difficult for Yihua to deal with him. Yihua let out a light sigh. Seems like I can only play some tricks. Yihua stretched out his palm and grabbed. If Qinya and Dongwang Baiji were to see this hand gesture, their faces would definitely turn red. Isn't this Yihua's standard hand gesture of taking advantage of others? Sometimes, Yihua would even use a lot of force. This is too shameless. However, this time, Yihua was grabbing onto Bue. Don't misunderstand. Yihua was grabbing onto Bue's neck. Bue's fair and jade-like neck could be seen being grabbed tightly by Yihua. What are you doing? Only now did Worshak God react. Just who is this fellow? Are you blind? Can't you see that I'm threatening you? Yihua felt that this fellow was an idiot. Can't you even see through this? Bue bit on her lips. Unable to feel the strength of Yihua's neck, Bue feels that this man is just putting on an act. End of chapter. Chapter 10:27. He doesn't seem to be a bad person. You are shameless. Martial God didn't even know how to scold Yihua anymore. He was simply angered to the point that Yihua actually captured his fiancée. This is a despicable method. Yihua was very confused. Is this guy even a man? To actually not know how to curse, this is simply too shameful. In actuality, what Baiyu wanted to say was that these were all thoughts that she had instilled into Martial God. As a polite person, one shouldn't curse, which was why Martial God had never cursed since he was young. Hurry up and call for help, otherwise I will break her neck. Yihua said coldly, appearing very serious. Don't challenge my patience. Martial God had no other choice. My woman has already fallen into Yihua's hands, so I can only go and inform my father. Perhaps my father might have a way to save Baiyu. Your Excellency, this isn't good, right? Suddenly, a voice rang out. This caused Martial God to be delighted. This is my father's voice. As long as my father steps forward, Baiyu will definitely be fine. Martial God's figure could be seen gradually appearing. Before the figure arrived, the figure's voice arrived first. Martial God, this is an expert. Father. Martial God cupped his hands and shouted out. He was a bit afraid that his father would blame him for running out and causing Baiyu to be captured. Martial God didn't say anything and looked at the man in front of him with a shocked expression. I didn't expect that it would actually be him. Yihua was able to see through the man's gaze, but he didn't recognize the man in front of him. However, that wasn't important as long as the man in front of him was the man in front of him. Yihua let go of Baiyu who was in his hand, but Baiyu didn't even feel it and was still foolishly standing in front of Yihua. This caused Martial God to despair. You silly girl, why aren't you coming over? You can leave now, Yihua said faintly. All right. Baiyu finally reacted and ran over to Martial God's side, just like a child who had done something wrong. Martial God looked at Yihua and said faintly, I didn't expect that you actually didn't die. Oh, from what you said, you recognize me? Yihua asked faintly. You don't recognize me? Not everyone is worthy of me knowing them. Yihua said lightly, completely not putting the man in front of him in his eyes. Jing Tian chuckled. I've killed you once before. Have you forgotten all that? Upon hearing that, Yi Hua went into a daze. Soon after, a smile appeared on his face as he said, So it was you who killed me once. Interesting. It's really interesting. Jing Tiandi smiled as if they were old friends who hadn't seen each other for many years. So, why did you take the initiative to come over this time? Jing Tian asked curiously. He realized that the man in front of him was different from 1,000 years ago. As for what was different, he couldn't tell. Yi Hua silently took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. I want to cooperate with you. Haha, cooperate? Do you think this is a game? After hearing what Yi Hua said, Jing Tiandi laughed out loud. Right now, I finally know what's the difference between Yi Hua and Yi Hua. In the past, Yi Hua wasn't so frivolous, but right now, he is carrying along an indescribable sense of arrogance. To me, this is just a game of playing house. Yi Hua said with a bored tone, Kid, you're really arrogant. Jing Tian's smile gradually disappeared as he said in a deep voice. It had been many years since someone had acted so arrogantly in front of him. Even the emperor did not dare to do this. I am arrogant, and I naturally have the qualifications to be arrogant. If you cooperate with me, you will still have a sliver of a chance. Haha, then let me see if you have the ability to do so. Yi Hua let out a light sigh. Originally, I only wanted to use words to enlighten you, but unfortunately, I still have to use despicable martial strength. This is meaningless. Jing Tian was angered to the point of laughing. I have never seen such a daring person. Why didn't such a person die back then? The heavens actually let him live. Back then, I was able to kill you with a single blade. Even now, I'm still able to kill you. Jing Tian said gravely as he pulled out the blade from his waist and moved quickly. This series of movements was done in one go, and it was so fast that no one was able to sense it. Jing Tian, who was standing at the side, didn't even notice his father pulling out the blade, and it was as if nothing had happened. Jing Tian's speed had already reached an unimaginable level, as expected of a supreme overlord. Yi Hua said faintly, The me back then and the me right now are worlds apart, and you are just making no progress, right? A large blade immediately condensed in Yi Hua's hand, and he used one hand to block Jing Tian's attack. Boom! The two ancient artifacts collided with each other, and an aura that seemed to be able to destroy heaven and earth erupted out. Jing Tian immediately carried by Yu and flew into the sky. The entire mountain could be seen collapsing, and the entire military camp was shaken. Within the ruins, Yi Hua and Jing Tian stood at the same spot. Yi Hua's expression was very calm, but Jing Tian's expression was very astonished. This Yi Hua was actually able to block my blade with a single hand. How is this possible? Even if it was a supreme overlord of the same level, it wouldn't be so easy for him. Yi Hua said faintly while smoking his cigarette. From your expression, I can see that you are not convinced. Humph. Then let me see how much you've grown in these 1,000 years. You will be surprised. Yi Hua said lightly. He knew that if he doesn't beat Jing Tian into submission, he wouldn't compromise. Jing Tian shouted toward his son, Martial God, bring Bai Yu back and pacify the military camp. Yes. Looking at his son and daughter-in-law leaving, Jing Tian said gravely, Change to another place. All right, change to another place. After finished speaking, the two disappeared, and when they reappeared, they were already on top of a snowy mountain range. This place was desolate, and there was only the howling cold wind and tall and straight mountain peaks. Even the cigarette that was on Yi Hua's mouth was frozen. From this, it could be seen just how low the temperature was. It was basically impossible for any living being to survive in this place. Jing Tian kept the blade that was originally in his hand, and this action made Yi Hua curious. What? Aren't you going to use a weapon? Yi Hua asked faintly. Jing Tian laughed lightly. I will let you die a worthy death. After Jing Tian finished speaking, a strange weapon was taken out from the void. Yi Hua's brows immediately wrinkled. This was a weapon that Yi Hua had never seen before. Blade? There was only the shape of a blade. However, this blade was much thinner than a normal blade, and it didn't have that sharp blade. However, the feeling that this blade gave off was definitely unconcealable fear. The entire blade was red in color. It was that kind of dark red color, and it didn't have any exaggerated luster. While it was low-key, it carried a very high level of attainment. However, this wasn't the main point. Yi Hua wasn't able to feel the pressure that this blade was emitting out, but he felt that this blade was very terrifying. This is the first time in my life that I, the Supreme Overlord, have felt something like this. A feeling of panic. Good, good, good. I'm so excited. The deity finally experienced the feeling of fear and panic. Too formidable. Too formidable. How did you make this blade? Yi Hua asked excitedly. End of this chapter. Chapter 1028. Jing Tiandi had always been paying attention to Yi Hua's expression. In the beginning, Jing Tiandi was very happy, but when he saw the shock and fear in Yi Hua's eyes, his happiness actually turned into excitement. What was there to be excited about? What is there to be excited about? Despair is the expression you should have. In fact, this was the second time Jing Tian took out this saber. It was as if he was caressing his own child. This was the masterpiece of his life, the only one in the entire world. With a proud tone, he whispered, "I call this weapon parting fire." Leaving fire? What a good name. This dark red color is something that was refined by a deviant flame, right? Yi Hua guessed and asked. I can feel a bit of the odor of a deviant flame. Yi Hua's guess caused the world to go into a daze. He actually guessed one of the materials correctly. Not bad. Yi Hua has some insights. That's right, but the heavenly flame is not used for tempering, but for injecting. Then, use the heavenly flame to refine it. Jing Tian said lightly, showing the demeanor of a great master. Hearing those shocking words, Yi Hua tightly wrinkled his brows. These words are easy to say, but it is extremely difficult to put into action. This required a very high level of proficiency in controlling the deviant flame. Just like fusing the deviant flame, I, the Supreme Overlord, have yet to finish fusing the deviant flame. And my little Ali had been playing around with the deviant flame a few years ago, causing me, the Supreme Overlord, to lose a lot of face. As for Yi Hua, this was also the first time that he had heard of someone being able to stuff a deviant fire into a weapon and use it as a material. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he would have thought that it was fake. The deviant flame that was stuffed into the weapon could not be controlled and would definitely go berserk. Yet, you still use the deviant flame to temper it. Are you kidding me? Why didn't you blow yourself up? Also, what kind of materials could withstand the burning of mystical flames? Ordinary ancient era divine weapons would definitely not be able to withstand the burning of mystical flames. It wasn't that Yi Hua hadn't tried to fuse with the flames before. Strange flames were too ferocious, and even Yi Hua himself didn't dare to forcefully fuse with the flames. From this, it could be seen just how powerful and terrifying the flames were. Looking at Yi Hua's peculiar gaze, shockingly heaven and earth felt a sense of accomplishment. I can boast about this for my entire life, but I don't dare to take out this kind of weapon because the moment I take it out, my family members will be in danger. The reason why I took it out now is because I feel that I can kill Yi Hua. After all, a dead person would definitely be able to keep the secret. Actually, the mysterious flame is only one of the materials. There are a total of 6 top-grade materials. I've been looking for these 6 materials for my entire life. There can only be success, no failure. Jing Tian held the leaf fire in his hand, his eyes blazing. If he could, he wished he could use this saber to conquer the world. Needless to say, right now, Yi Hua even had the urge to snatch the leaf fire. This leaf fire is simply too tempting. Other than the 2 types of deviant flames, what are the others? Yi Hua asked curiously. Right now, Yi Hua was just like a student asking whatever he didn't understand. He wasn't afraid of shaking the heavens and the earth. After all, this fellow was going to die. You probably haven't even heard of the other four materials. Yihua felt that he was going to suffocate to death. This is simply teasing my appetite. I'm going to die anyway. Why don't you tell me and let me admire you? Yihua hurriedly said. If it was the Yihua of the past, he would definitely forget about it and not say anything. However, the current Yihua possessed humanity and knew when to be a bit more tactful. The feeling of being worshipped was not bad. Shocking heaven and earth coldly snorted. Then let me tell you, do you know what pure gold is? Yihua shook his head. No, my ass. I have never heard of it before. Pure gold came from the prehistoric era. It was an extremely precious metal at that time. It was the only metal that could withstand the heavenly fire. The so-called primordial divine artifacts now are actually all fake. Yihua nodded his head solemnly. Seems like I have to go and take inventory of the warehouse. If the warehouse is able to withstand the power of the deviant flame, then it would be a real ancient artifact. If he couldn't handle it, then it was fake. Shocking heaven and earth continued. Even if it's an untainted divine artifact, it's not made of pure gold, because pure gold isn't tough enough. Yihua, you're F*** taking liberties with me. So, at this time, he needed a material. Its name was Jade Dipper. These were the tentacles of the primordial beast, the Jade Spirit. Jade Spirits are extremely rare, but to refine them into a Jade Dipper, you need 100 of them. Yihua nodded his head. I have heard of the ancient ferocious beast Jade Spirit before, and its tentacles are indeed a kind of material that can be used to reinforce materials. However, I have never heard of chopping down 100 of them to make a Jade Dipper, because Jade Spirits are originally very rare. Where are we going to find so many Jade Spirits? If they were to make such a weapon, they would probably be able to make all species extinct. What are the other two? Yihua asked curiously. Draw heavenly fire. All right, I have never heard of this before. I feel as if I have just come to the city from the countryside, and I don't know anything at all. This is truly embarrassing. How do I draw heavenly fire with this? Yihua asked. 3 types of artifacts are required to draw heavenly fire. These are all one-time use artifacts, and they are respectively Crimson Flame, Demon God Mirror, Void Scroll, and Supreme Overlord Primordial Spirit. Yihua let out a light sigh. Awesome. To think that there are so many requirements for drawing heavenly fire. I have never heard of the first 2 items, and that Supreme Overlord Primordial Spirit is most probably the easiest to obtain out of the 3 items. What's the last one? Yihua continued asking. Dear Soul, when speaking of Dear Soul, shocking heaven and earth's expression became extremely bad. However, Yihua was stupefied. What is Dear Soul? F***ck. I have never F***king heard of it before. What is Dear Soul? The soul of a loved one. Shocking heaven and earth said gravely. That's right. Shocking heaven and earth forged this weapon using his most beloved wife. Using her soul to forge this weapon. Back then, shocking heaven and earth had already reached the stage of going berserk, and with all he wanted to forge an unparalleled weapon, he didn't think too much about it. Even shocking heaven and earth didn't know about this matter. If shocking heaven and earth were to know that it was his father who harmed his mother, he definitely wouldn't forgive his father. For the sake of a broken sword, his father actually turned his mother into a demented person. When heavenly fire was forged, shocking heaven and earth clearly felt a familiar feeling. When he held on to this sword, it was just like holding onto the hand of his loved one. That kind of feeling was enough to destroy the world. No wonder it is said that one must use the soul of a loved one. So, it is for this kind of feeling. However, when shocking heaven and earth woke up, it was too late for regrets. He didn't take out heavenly fire anymore and thought of all ways to cure his wife. However, his wife's soul was already gone. Where am I going to find her? However, in one of the ancient books, shocking heaven and earth found out that Supreme Overlord was able to cure a soulless person. That was why he agreed to the Emperor's request, that he must definitely save his wife. All of this is my fault. When Yihua heard the last request, the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. The first few requests can be obtained as long as I spend some time, but the last request, even I, the Supreme Overlord, am not that ruthless. To actually use the soul of a loved one to forge a sword, this is simply inhumane. In a chapter. Chapter 1029. However, it was undeniable that behind every exceptional weapon, there was a frightening story. Because good weapons all needed to be sacrificed. Some people even directly sacrificed themselves. He wanted to smith something unique in the world. This was the madness of a blacksmith. How was it forged in the end? Yihua asked. The heavenly flame and the heavenly flame will combust, said Jing Tiandi lightly. Oh, so you have two types of mystical flames. Have you used them both? Yihua asked. The rarity of deviant flames was really very high, and it was the hardest to find out of all of the materials. Back then, even I, the Supreme Overlord, was only able to obtain a single deviant flame, and in the end, I somehow managed to obtain a lot of deviant flames. Moreover, deviant flames were unique, just like how heaven and earth had used these two, so they would never appear again. Yes, Jing Tian said in a low voice. Yihua let out a sigh. Right now, I don't feel that this is a good deal for me, and I feel that I am making a loss. However, for this weapon to be able to make me feel fear, it has already proven its strength. Then, this divine artifact of yours belongs to the ancient era. What else does it belong to? Yihua asked again. Jing Tian said in a deep voice, I'll list him. Legendary weapon. Legendary weapon. Yihua muttered a few sentences to himself. I feel that there is still a bit of flavor to it. Legendary grade weapon. This time, I, the Supreme Overlord, will go and try it out as well. I want to see if I can forge a legendary grade equipment out of it. Yihua directly took out an ancient divine artifact. That blade of yours is no good. It's like a piece of paper in front of me. It's not very useful. Just as he finished speaking, shocking heaven and earth slashed at him with leaf fire. Yihua locked onto the leaf fire in Jing Tian's hand, and he discovered that the leaf fire in Jing Tian's hand didn't give off any other form, and it looked just like an ordinary leaf fire. This caused Yihua's expression to become grave. Bang! The primordial artifact in Yihua's hand broke into pieces like a piece of paper. However, right when Yihua was absent-minded, a red flame actually appeared on Yihua's blade. Different from the blade itself, this flame was a bright red flame. Puff! The terrifying out-of-the-blue flame immediately sprayed towards Yihua. Of course, Yihua wouldn't go head-on against the out-of-the-blue flame. His figure instantly dispersed, but he still touched it a little. Yihua, why are you running? Jing Tian asked faintly with a mocking tone. Yihua looked at his own robe, and a piece of it had already disappeared. Yes, it was a missing piece, not the kind that was burned. What kind of deviant flame is this? Yihua asked gravely. This is called the ageless heavenly flame. I purposely stuffed this deviant flame into my weapon. As long as you're touched by the non-aging deviant flame, your time will quickly run out. You can watch yourself grow old and die. Damn, was this really the ageless heavenly flame? This is called a dying deviant flame, okay? However, I seem to be immune to all races. I'm originally from the undead race. Yihua didn't take out his weapon again, because even if he took out his weapon, it wouldn't be of any use at all. Under the damage of this parting fire, any weapon would be useless. Thus, I can only use magic. Close combat is truly difficult to play with. My opponent is obviously a pay-to-win big shot. Such a weapon can only be made by someone who pays with money. This is simply shameless. True Dragon's Law of Light. Yihua immediately summoned two little white dragons, and the two dragons stood on his shoulders and floated in the air. That's right. This is just a buff. Don't misunderstand. 10 Ultimate. Yihua shouted out faintly. 10 Absolutes was just a trapping technique. Facing such a weapon, Yihua had no choice but to be cautious. This is the first time I'm being cautious ever since we got wiped out. I feel so excited. My life has reached the climax. Jing Tian stood on the air with the parting fire in his hand. This Yihua, why does he know magic? In the past, he didn't know all these things, right? Starfall. Yihua shouted out gravely. A huge halo formed beneath his feet, and strange runes appeared on the halo. Jing Tian could feel the pressure that Yihua was giving off. If not for the parting fire in his hand, he would definitely be shocked. However, parting fire is a legendary weapon. It is a weapon that I meticulously forged. Passive. Eliminate all negative emotions. Allow the wielder to maintain a godlike calmness during battle. Jing Tian still didn't use any techniques and continued to slash towards Yihua. At this moment, the 10 Absolutes trap was immediately activated. A huge barrier could be seen appearing. Jing Tian snorted coldly and directly slashed the barrier apart. Yihua was still condensing his energy. Right now, he can block the barrier for as long as he can. Jing Tian still underestimated the 10 Absolutes trap. Some strange explosions even appeared, and there was even mud. Are you King playing with a child? Jing Tian didn't plan to continue being in a stalemate with Yihua. He raised the parting fire in his hand, and a red crescent moon-shaped blade flew towards Yihua. Yihua was still condensing his energy. At this moment, the 10 Absolutes trap was activated again. However, this blade chi was simply like a god of death. Everything that it touched would be cut into two. Even Yihua had to take note of this. This parting fire is truly formidable. Golden Phoenix Umbrella. Yihua had no other choice but to take out an ancient godly equipment to exchange with the parting fire. This pink umbrella was specially used to absorb the blade chi. Yihua directly threw the parting fire fan over. A pink radiance could be seen coming out from the parting fire fan, and the red blade chi was clearly being absorbed into the umbrella. However, a problem occurred again. The parting fire fan was just like a child that was about to explode. There's no helping it. This blade chi is simply too heavy. Swish! The blade chi once again sliced open the pink umbrella. However, at this moment, Yihua's Starfall had also finished condensing. A huge fireball could be seen suddenly appearing in the sky. Yihua had summoned a meteorite to smash towards Jing Tian. Jing Tian succeeded in condensing the meteorite. Just like that, Yihua dodged the meteorite and successfully dodged the blade chi. Looking at this starfall that was in the sky, Yihua decided to add a little more firmament ghost fire. The purple-colored deviant flame immediately enveloped the starfall, causing Jing Tian's expression to darken. This fellow actually has doubts. Furthermore, it is the firmament ghost fire. He must have stolen it from somewhere. It must be. Yihua, even if you have a deviant flame, so what? Jing Tian said in disdain. In actuality, he was just a bit jealous. Although this deviant flame cannot be compared to parting fire, it is still very rare, and the main point is that its might is not bad. After finished speaking, Jing Tian shouted out angrily, "Silver Moon Slash!" The parting fire that was in Jing Tian's hand seemed to have sensed Jing Tian's anger and began letting out a cry. A blade chi that was even bigger than before could be seen emerging. Right now, Jing Tian felt very comfortable. This can be considered as my first time testing it out. Ever since I forged the parting fire, I have never had the chance to use it. Don't get distracted during a battle. Yihua said faintly. Jing Tian's expression stiffened. This voice came from right beside me. When did Yihua get behind me? Jing Tian wanted to punch Yihua with the back of his hand, but Yihua's fist was even faster and directly smashed onto Jing Tian's face. Jing Tian was directly smashed onto the ground, and a huge pit was formed. At this moment, Starfall also rushed down, and purple flames could be seen all over his body. End of this chapter. Chapter 10:30. Yihua said faintly, "I'll let you enjoy the might of meteor fall first." However, just now, the silver moon slash had also touched the falling star. The terrifying power directly cut the falling star from the middle, but the speed was too fast, causing it to look intact with the naked eye. The gigantic meteor crashed down, and the entire mountain peak was instantly razed to the ground. Soon after, the ground started trembling, and countless avalanches occurred, and a gigantic crater appeared in front of Yihua's eyes. Yihua was muddle-headed just now. His weapon was indeed formidable, but his person was just so. Therefore, by using his speed and strength, he would be able to easily obtain victory. He was also frightened by that weapon. What loss of face! The terrifying energy of the explosion swept through the entire mountain range. Yihua was very curious whether or not this supreme overlord would be able to withstand the explosion. Horrifying shock waves swept through the surroundings, and just when Yihua was feeling curious about what was going on, an anomaly occurred. The airwaves that were sweeping in all directions just now seemed to be absorbed by someone. It could be seen with the naked eye that all the power of the explosion was concentrated on a single point. Yihua's brows tightened. In an instant, that terrifying energy just now was actually attacking him. This was the first time that Yihua had come across this kind of weapon, and it was even able to absorb the energy after an explosion. This weapon is really a bit abnormal. If he were to use it on himself, he would definitely be invincible. Spirit Concealment Shield, Yihua called out gravely. An indistinct shield could be seen appearing around Yihua's body, and the surging energy directly crashed onto the shield. When Yihua sensed the different types of energy attacks, he felt that they were a bit interesting. Do not get distracted during battle. The same words rang out beside Yihua's ears. No matter what, this heaven and earth shaking was an honorable supreme being. His speed was nothing to scoff at. Sensing the signal of death coming from behind him, Yihua did not dare to be careless, and his body immediately disappeared. Right after shocking heaven and earth's parting fire slashed onto Yihua's afterimage, an immense pain came from his back. Bang! Jing Tian was blasted down once more, his body like a cannonball as he smashed through a series of mountains. Yihua stood in the air and stretched his neck. This was the difference in strength. There's no helping it. I want to keep a low profile, but my strength doesn't allow me to. Even if you create a weapon that can kill me, so what? You can't even cut my body, unless I stand still and let you chop me. But that was impossible. I'm going to kill you. Jing Tian charged again with leaf fire in his hand. However, this time, Yihua discovered that the leaf fire saber had changed a bit. Some kind of mark had appeared on the saber's body. From the looks of it, some kind of effect has been triggered, but it was useless, because you are still too weak. Immediately, a pair of boxing gloves condensed in Yihua's hands. This was the cyan and red boxing gloves. The left side of the boxing gloves was green, and the right side was red. Both of the boxing gloves represented different personalities. Of course, it was also a primordial divine artifact. If you have the guts, then don't dodge. Jing Tian seemed to have understood a principle. That is, Yihua's strength. It was probably above him. Hee, do you think that I am an idiot? Yihua's body disappeared once again. After that, his entire body was once again blasted down by Yihua, and another series of mountains toppled over. Yihua stood at his original position and did not move. If you come, I will continue to fight. It will be fun. Thus, the scene became like this. Jing Tian is going to be abused by Yihua to the point where he can't even take care of himself. He had an invincible weapon, but he couldn't hit his opponent. If he were to be hit by me, he would definitely die. After a long while, Jing Tian became in a very sorry state. His breathing became hurried, and there was even a trace of blood flowing out from the corner of his mouth. In actuality, Yihua didn't attack ruthlessly. If not, with the help of the leaf fire, Jing Tian would definitely die. It is useless to continue fighting. How about we have a chat? Yihua said faintly. This person still has some use. I can't let him die yet. Jing Tian was also aware of the difference between him and Yihua, no matter how he thought about it. He couldn't understand how Yihua was able to reach such a level. Yihua actually reached such a level. This is simply something that is impossible. This time, the emperor even asked me to kill Yihua, How is it possible for me to do that? It is evident that Yi Hua held back just now. For Jing Tian to be able to think like this, he was also aware of his own limitations. Since that is the case, Jing Tian didn't plan to continue fighting, and he kept his leaf fire. Although Yi Hua was jealous of this weapon, he didn't plan to snatch it away, because what is living within this weapon is his wife's soul. Thinking about how I am holding on to his wife, I want to F***CK. So disgusting, I don't have any desire at all. Facts have proven that a person's strength is far better than a weapon. Yi Hua said faintly, very pretentious. It was only because Yi Hua had won that he was able to say such words. If he had lost, hearing what Yi Hua said, Jing Tian didn't say anything, because what Yi Hua said indeed made sense. The two's bodies disappeared once again, and they returned back to the headquarters. At this time, Wergod and Bue were waiting bitterly. Suddenly, they saw their father returning. And that man... When Wergod saw his father's downtrodden appearance and the opponent's spotless robe, he became stupefied. This result wasn't hard to guess. My father was completely defeated. How was this possible? My father is a supreme overlord. He is an existence that can pinch an overlord to death with a single hand. How is it possible for my father to lose to such a handsome person? Wergod, you leave first. Jing Tian said gravely. Jing Tian took a look at his father, then said respectfully, Yes, father. After finished speaking, Jing Tian left with Bue. Sit. Jing Tian sat cross-legged, and Yi Hua casually sat down and lit a stick of cigarette. Speak. What is your purpose for coming here this time? Jing Tian asked curiously. Yi Hua let out a breath, then said faintly, You have also seen it just now. If I wanted to exterminate your 5 million soldiers, it would be... Yi Hua stretched out his right hand and snapped his fingers. This means that if I want to kill you all, it would be just a matter of snapping my fingers. If it was before, Jing Tian would definitely feel that Yi Hua was acting cool. However, after the battle just now, he didn't even know how strong Yi Hua was. Just take that starfall, for example. If that starfall landed on the top of my camp, I reckon that my entire camp would be exterminated. I'm not trying to scare you. I have actually killed a lot of people, and I don't care about these things. It's just that there's some things that are meaningless if I do it like this. What do you think? Jing Tian lightly let out a breath, then said helplessly, How do you want me to cooperate with you? Hearing that Jing Tian compromised, Yi Hua was quite happy in his heart. This meant that his plan was still progressing normally, and there were no mistakes. Actually, it isn't difficult, it is just a show. But I want Supreme. And Jing Tian didn't finish speaking. And what? Yi Hua asked curiously. Your life and Yi Yuanqing's life. Yi Hua's brows wrinkled. Then after pondering for a while, he asked gravely, Who asked you to do this? It's already 5 a.m., and I have all kinds of requests. End of this chapter. Chapter 1031. Since I have already been defeated by you, I will just say it directly. This war was originally a conspiracy between two emperors. My emperor wants to get rid of me, and your emperor wants to get rid of you and Yi Yuanqing. It is just that simple. Jing Tian said gravely. Emperors are truly scum. After hearing what Jing Tian said, Yi Hua went into a daze for a moment, then laughed lightly. Good fellow. This Huang Fei sure gives me surprises frequently. Since that's the case, I should return a surprise to you as well. I don't think that you will fulfill your promise, right? Yi Hua asked faintly. A supreme overlord who even has a heaven-defying weapon in his hands. You said that you want to die, but why don't I believe you? If it was possible, Jing Tian didn't want to fulfill his promise, but in order to save his wife, he had no choice but to do so. Actually, your wife is just missing a type of soul. I can help you find it. Yi Hua said lightly. This can be counted as giving Jing Tian a benefit. It isn't hard to find a soul, and as long as it is complete, Jing Tian will be able to return to normal. Jing Tian didn't understand and asked confusedly, Back then, I killed you, so why are you still helping me? Yi Hua picked up the teacup and took a sip. If you didn't kill me back then, perhaps I wouldn't have my current achievements. In fact, I should be thanking you for killing me back then. This wasn't a sarcastic remark. Yihua indeed thought that way. Back then, how the Yihua died and who killed him had nothing to do with me. In fact, I should be thanking the Yihua. But now that the Yihua is here to provoke me, I'm sorry. When enemies meet, I can only use blood to baptize them. Jing Tian laughed. I didn't expect that the person I killed back then would actually torture me like a dog thousands of years later. If this matter were to be spread out, I would be a joke. Thank you very much. Jing Tian thanked sincerely. To be able to save my wife, this is a benefactor, Yihua said faintly. There are a lot of things that you have to thank me for. Actually, a person like you shouldn't just be a duke. An emperor is more suitable. Don't you think so? After hearing what Yihua said, Jing Tian didn't say anything and remained silent. A duke who doesn't want to be an emperor isn't a good duke. Even your emperor wants to kill you. So what are you still hesitating for? Yihua persuaded unhurriedly. Actually, he didn't have any purpose. He just wanted to experience the feeling of persuading others. It seemed that the Supreme Overlord's IQ was very high. Right now, you have 5 million soldiers in your hands, and it is very easy for you to rebel. However, you are still lacking an excuse. After all, everyone wants to sit on the throne in an open and above-board manner, and not seize power. Yihua was also aware of this point. Even if one were to do something bad, one must still find a proper excuse. Therefore, I am able to create such an opportunity for you. With a strange smile on his face, Yihua appeared to be very, very bad. Needless to say, Jing Tian was a little tempted. If there was a legitimate reason, then he could really do it. It was very clear that as long as the opponent wasn't Yihua, then the opponent would basically be an invincible existence. What do you want? Jing Tian asked curiously. Yihua asked back, do you think that in this world, is there anything that I want? I just think that it would be more fun for you to be the emperor. The point is, do you want it or not? I'll give you some time to think about it. Let's discuss the attack in 3 days. Jing Tian nodded. Then, the two of them exchanged their opinions. Yihua expressed that, since I am able to help you deal with your wife's illness, then there is no need for you to fight with me over the title of unparalleled. Of course, even if I'm going to put on a show, I still have to put on a show. Those who are supposed to die also have to continue to die, because this is to save more people, and their deaths are glorious and great. Jing Tian naturally knew that if Yihua didn't come tonight, who knows how many people would have to die. After hearing Yihua's plan, Jing Tian inwardly exclaimed in his heart, since you have said so much, I also have something that I want to tell you. Jing Tian planned to tell Yihua about the painting. Yihua was someone who liked surprises and accidents, and thus, he immediately became interested. Tell me about it. Jing Tian flipped his palm, and a painting appeared on his palm. Soon after, Jing Tian opened the painting. Looking at the words on the painting, Yihua felt that the words on the painting were very similar to my calligraphy. What is this? This is another kind of celestial phenomenon that will appear when unparalleled appears. I don't know what it is, but what I'm sure of is that this celestial phenomenon is even more precious than unparalleled. Jing Tian said excitedly. What Jing Tian liked the most was collecting materials and whatnot, and this legendary weapon creation was something that he bought by chance. After hearing what Jing Tian said, Yihua felt that it was feasible. All right, let's see what it is when the time comes. The good stuff will belong to you. Jing Tian was still very happy in his heart. The super good stuff will belong to me. Jing Tian, do you understand the words at the back? Jing Tian asked curiously. Yihua took a look at the words. If I say that I don't understand the words, wouldn't I lose a lot of face? Of course, Yihua said gravely. What are they talking about? Jing Tian hurriedly asked. Just where did this Yihua go for 1,000 years? For him to actually be so formidable. Yihua directly made up a story. It is a bit long-winded, but the rough idea is that something very formidable will appear, and it is telling you to be careful. Is that so? Jing Tian was very puzzled. Isn't this a bit too simple? Yihua directly changed the topic. How are you thinking about becoming an emperor? I can, Jing Tian said gravely. Yihua liked this kind of feeling. Humans are always unable to resist temptation. And if they are able to resist temptation, then it would definitely be because the temptation isn't strong enough. Yihua revealed out a strange smile, then disappeared from where he was. Big brother. Right after Yihua returned, he heard Yi Yuanqing's voice. This is a voice of concern, and it sounds very comfortable. You still haven't rested? Yihua said faintly. Big brother, where did you go just now? Are you injured? Yi Yuanqing hurriedly checked on Yihua. Right now, there's only a single weapon that is able to injure me. Yihua said faintly. This legendary weapon is very formidable. I like it. Yi Yuanqing said snappily. Big brother, can you stop joking around? Quickly go and rest. I have just finished discussing with the enemy's commander. When the time comes, we will just have to put on an act. You can go and distribute the soldiers. Those who rush at the front will definitely be sending themselves to death. Yihua said faintly. This can also be counted as a sort of explanation, right? If you want to blame someone, then blame the emperor. This is the method that they use to eliminate dissidents. Hearing what his big brother said, Yi Yuanqing felt very uncomfortable. These are the soldiers that I am leading. Is there really no other way to deal with them? I know what you are thinking, but in actuality, this entire matter is a scheme of the two emperors. Huang Fadi wants the two of us to die, and the enemy's emperor wants the commander to die. It is just that simple. Do you understand? What his big brother said was simply like a clap of thunder exploding in Yi Yuanqing's mind. How is this possible? Chapter 1032. Such a large-scale war was actually arranged by the two emperors. This is simply infuriating. How could they bear to do this? It turns out that Big Brother also didn't want too many innocent people to die. That's why he took the risk to go and negotiate. Big Brother is really strong. Suddenly, Yi Yuanqing hugged onto Yihua. This immediately caused Yihua to be dumbfounded. Yuanqing, we are brother and sister. We can't have incest. Yihua patted onto Yi Yuanqing's back and said softly. Yi Yuanqing didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he punched on his big brother. Annoying. I'm just glad that I have such a big brother. That's all. Haha. Yihua could only use laughter to cover up his awkwardness. I will make the arrangements. Yi Yuanqing knew that this was already the best result. After all, without Big Brother, everyone would have died. Yihua nodded his head, and Yi Yuanqing left. Not long after Yi Yuanqing left, Yihua went out again. Furthermore, the more he went, as if he was seducing someone. Of course, Yihua was seducing someone. It was impossible for the emperor not to send someone to kill him. Walking to a tree, Yihua began peeing. In the quiet night, a sizzling sound rang out. It seems like recently, Yihua was a bit on fire. After knowing that he had a family, he didn't do it with Qinya and the others anymore. It would be weird if he wasn't on fire. Do you people like to peek at other people peeing? Yihua raised his head and said faintly. Soon after, he shook his pee and kept it. The surrounding was still quiet. Yihua said while walking, if you want to kill me, you are actually in more danger than me. A slight fluctuation was produced in the air. The fluctuation was very slight, but Yihua had already sensed it. If a person is stupid, they will die. Young man, don't be impulsive. Yihua continued, you're not afraid of me? A voice rang out in the air. I'm afraid of you. You are thinking too much. Yihua grabbed towards the air, and a terrifying aura locked the air. A purple iron chain instantly condensed out, and on the chain, there was even an abnormal flame. Firmament ghost fire. Before Jackdaw could even react, it was already trapped by Yihua. Moreover, Yihua had even bound it with the strange fire version of Asia. Jackdaw's body appeared, and he looked at Yihua in astonishment. The firmament ghost fire on Yihua's body made him feel very uncomfortable. Of course, this was only because Yihua hadn't activated his strange fire. Otherwise, he'd already be dead. Yihua turned his head and looked towards this unfamiliar man, then said faintly, "As a supreme overlord, you actually became the assassin of the emperor. You truly lack brains. Who the hell are you? It's impossible for Yihua to be as formidable as you." Jackdaw was now certain that this wasn't the Yihua of the past. No one could become this strong in just 1,000 years. Yihua let out a light sigh. Being ignorant isn't your fault. How much potential a person can have depends on whether or not that person is willing to put in the effort. A person who is not willing to put in the effort will not be able to get anything in return. 1,000 years of time is more than enough for a person to change. Impossible. Impossible, growled Jackdaw. This was complete nonsense. Even a storyteller wouldn't do something like this. Do you know how cruel the emperor you serve is? I'm not swearing allegiance. I'm just repaying a debt of gratitude, said Jackdaw bluntly. This caused Yihua to be a bit confused. Repaying a debt of gratitude? If you're only staying by the emperor's side to repay a debt of gratitude, then it seems that you won't be able to leave. Wrong. His Majesty said that after this matter is over, I will be able to leave. Do you believe him? Yihua laughed lightly. Although he had only met this emperor once, he knew that he was definitely a cruel character. To be more accurate, those who were able to become emperors were all cruel characters. What, you don't believe me? Then, do you still believe that this war is actually a ploy by two emperors? Impossible, said Jackdaw without even thinking. Huang Fadi would sometimes use methods, but he wouldn't be cruel to this extent. Why is it impossible? Don't think that things are too optimistic. Huang Fadi won't let you off. However, I might be able to help you. Yihua began tempting others again. Recently, I've been enjoying the feeling of tempting others. As long as I successfully tempt someone, I would feel a sense of accomplishment. No need. Then, it seems that I can only let you die, Yihua said gravely. Then, the metal chains that were made of abnormal fire began to tighten, and the abnormal fire began to burn even more intensely. This caused Jackdaw to feel suffocated. I've never seen such a strange person before. I don't need your help, yet you still insist on entering the stronghold. I've never seen such a tyrannical person before. Don't struggle pointlessly. What future do you have by staying by the emperor's side? You should be doing what you're supposed to do, not becoming an assassin and helping the emperor get rid of dissidents. The freedom that you want, I can help you. Yihua used freedom to tempt Jackdaw. In everyone's heart, freedom was the source of temptation. Grasping onto this point, Jackdaw would then focus on nurturing himself. Freedom. Understand. Jackdaw indeed wanted freedom, and he also longed for freedom. However, he still had to abide by the promise he made back then and help Huang Fadi. Why should I believe you? You have no other choice. I've said too much just now, and you've heard too much. That's why I can only kill you. Feeling the abnormal fire's corrosion, Jackdaw's entire body felt uncomfortable. He even felt that if this continued, he would die. Jackdaw didn't have an abnormal fire of his own, so he didn't have this opportunity. He was just unlucky. The burning of his soul caused Jackdaw to feel indescribable pain. He could only say, "All right, I believe you. Young man, you need to be tactful. I'm helping you, understand?" Yihua said calmly. The plan was still going on without any deviation. With a wave of his hand, the Asian binding around Jackdaw's body disappeared. "What do you want me to do?" Jackdaw asked in a low voice. Yihua smiled. "Actually, nothing much. Just continue with your work. Do whatever you're supposed to do." "Then why are you helping me?" "Sigh. People often say that I'm a good person, so I might as well do something good." Yihua lightly flicked his sleeves, appearing very manly. Jackdaw couldn't understand this Lord Yi. Just what is he trying to do? Yihua didn't want to waste any more time with Jackdaw. He said calmly, "I'll forget about you trying to assassinate me today. But don't forget, if I want to kill you, I can do it with a flick of my finger. It's very easy and very casual." With that, Yihua disappeared on the spot. Jackdaw stood there alone, a dumbfounded expression on his face. Even the emperor didn't dare to threaten him like this, but today he was threatened. Ever since he became a supreme overlord, no one dared to threaten him. But today he was actually threatened by his target. Just what has Yihua been doing all these years? He's actually this powerful. He's not a match at all. Too terrifying. Chapter 1033. Jackdaw had a lingering fear in his heart. At the same time, he witnessed the power of an abnormal flame. It would be great if he had an abnormal flame too. Unfortunately, he didn't. As a supreme overlord, he didn't even have an abnormal flame. Jackdaw had obtained Peerless, and through a stroke of luck, he'd become a supreme. Everyone else, on the other hand, leveled up honestly. However, to become a supreme overlord, an abnormal flame was needed. That was why almost all supreme overlords had an abnormal flame. Jackdaw was faced with two choices. First, report this matter to the emperor. Yihua was very strong right now. Moreover, he already knows that you're working together with the emperor of Shanghai. Second, choose to trust Yihua and obtain freedom. Jackdaw felt that the second option was more reliable. If Yihua wanted to kill him, he would have done it already. As for the first option, the emperor wouldn't easily forgive him. So, he chose the second option and hoped that his choice was correct. In front of absolute power, it was impossible not to lower your head. At this time, Yihua arrived at the abyss. There were souls everywhere. These souls were quite precious outside, but inside the abyss, they were very common. They were like stones on the side of the street. Looking at the red magma, black rocks, and countless wailing souls, Yihua casually grabbed. A female soul was obtained. The soul seemed to be very afraid of Yihua and was trembling. Yihua felt that this soul was quite obedient. It's decided then. I'll take her. Since I promised someone, I'll definitely do it. After grabbing the soul, Yihua slowly closed his eyes and looked for the coordinates. Then, he directly appeared in the sky above Shanghai. Looking at the huge city in front of him, Yihua felt that it was no different from Spirit City. It seemed very prosperous. I thought Shanghai would be like purgatory, but it turned out to be like this. I'm a bit disappointed. Since it was already late at night, there were fewer people on the streets. There were only a few drunkards walking around and a few brothel girls waving their hands to attract customers. Yihua didn't think too much. He directly went to the biggest mansion in the city. This should be the one. When he arrived at the garden, he saw a few maids taking care of a mentally disabled woman. This woman looked like a child. She ran around the garden without resting. The surrounding maids were suffering unspeakably. Yihua waved his hand, and all of the maids fainted. As for that middle-aged woman, she paused for a moment, then continued to play with the maids and did not have any reaction at all. Go! Yihua loosened his hand, and the soul took a look at Yihua with a puzzled look in its eyes. However, the soul still flew towards the woman without any hesitation. For the woman, she had a soul, and for the soul, she had a physical body. They were both complementary states. Yihua stood at the side and watched. The woman's body suddenly trembled, then fainted. A dazzling white light emitted out from Yihua's hand and enveloped the middle-aged woman. Not long later, the middle-aged woman and the middle-aged woman completely fused together. Why am I here? The middle-aged woman shook her head and sat up. After that, she looked at Yihua and wrinkled her brows. You? Who are you? Why are you in my house? Yihua smoked his cigarette and looked at the night sky. I promised your husband that I would cure you. Just as the woman was about to say something, her memories suddenly surged forth, and she finally knew how she had been living for so many years. After a while, the woman bowed towards Yihua and said, Thank you. Right now, Yihua seemed to like this sentence a lot. The feeling of being thanked by someone isn't bad. Yihua responded, then reminded, Something big is going to happen soon. It's best for you to continue pretending to be sick. Understand? All right, I understand. You can be at ease. Yihua was very satisfied with the attitude of this middle-aged woman. This is a sensible woman. I, the Supreme Overlord, hate those who are not sensible the most, those who still bother me every day, just like that Xian Yuqing, who is not sensible at all. In the future, you will be the Empress. A trace of an arc appeared on the corner of Yihua's mouth, then disappeared from the garden, leaving behind the middle-aged woman who had a look of surprise on her face. Empress? Did this man just say that I am going to be the Empress? How is this possible? Could it be that my husband is going to... Thinking up to here, the middle-aged woman began to worry. My husband, you better not mess around. Yihua had quite a lot of things to do tonight, and right now, there was still one last stop. And that was Shanghai's Imperial Palace, to kill a person. Who is it? Of course, it's Shanghai's emperor. If this emperor doesn't die, how will he be able to ascend to the throne? Shanghai's Imperial Palace was rather unique. It was built on top of a mountain, and this was the symbol of royalty. Not bad, not bad, what a good idea. If Yihua was to judge, Shanghai's Imperial Palace was a bit more unique than Lingdu's Imperial Palace. Yihua directly arrived at the emperor's bedroom. Of course, he had to wear a mask. After all, he was here to kill someone, not here to chat. However, after Yihua arrived, he felt a bit awkward because the emperor seemed to be in the middle of mating. Hearing this kind of sound, Yihua couldn't help but miss Qinya and the empress. The supreme overlord, seemed to have been abstinent for a very long time. After I finish what I need to do, I will go back and have a good rest. Yihua sat at the side and waited quietly. After all, this is a person who is going to die soon, so I should just let the emperor enjoy himself for the last time. If not, the emperor will say that I am unreasonable and even interrupted the emperor's mating. While smoking the cigarette, Yihua waited silently. Time passed bit by bit, and there were quite a few cigarette butts beneath Yihua's feet. However, the sound that was beside Yihua's ears was still continuing. This caused Yihua to be very unhappy. My beloved concubine, what smell do you smell? Yihua heard the emperor's question. Seems like the emperor smelled the smell of my cigarette. Your Majesty, this is the smell of manliness that you are emitting out. A sweet voice could be heard, and goosebumps could be seen all over Yihua's body. Wait a moment, I will stand up and take a look. Your Majesty, hurry up then. I still want more. Little vixen, I will satisfy you later. Yihua shook his head. You are the first person who has made me wait for you. You deserve to die. The emperor saw that there was actually a green smoke pervading the roof, and it felt as if there was a fire. However, this smell doesn't seem to be the smell of a fire. This smell is so unpleasant. If one smells too much of it, one's lifespan will definitely be shortened. However, very quickly, the emperor saw Yihua's figure, and his eyes revealed out in astonishment. Yihua threw the cigarette, but that was in his hand, onto the ground and stepped on it, then stood up. You are the emperor of this place, right? Who are you? How did you come in? Is this poisonous smoke? Jing Jintian questioned coldly. I feel that the other party is releasing poison into this place. Damn it. Yihua laughed lightly. Poisonous smoke, is it? These are all lonely smoke. Don't talk nonsense. If I say that it is poisonous smoke, then it is poisonous smoke. Yihua felt that this emperor was a fake. Compared to Emperor Fei, this emperor is a bit weak. End of this chapter. Chapter 1034. All right, I will do whatever you say. Now, I want you to die. You want to kill me? Then, I'm very curious about your motive for killing me. Jing Jintian asked gravely. I feel that this man is very strong. Yihua took out another cigarette and lit it. If you die, there will naturally be someone who wants to replace you. Huh, so you want to snatch my throne. Then, let's see if you have the strength to do so. Before Jing Jintian could finish speaking, he felt that his throat was being strangled, and his entire body was lifted up. Yihua breathed out a mouthful of smoke. I don't need to prove my strength to you. Your death will help others. Wait. I can give you anything you want. If there is anything, let's discuss it again. Jing Jintian hurriedly said. I don't seem to be his opponent. I don't even know how he attacked just now. Furthermore, my strength is completely sealed. When did he seal my strength? Didn't you just say it? It's the throne. Yihua said faintly. It was as if he was playing house. All right, I will give it to you. I will give it to you. No, I am not interested in your throne. It is others who are interested. Yihua flicked the cigarette ash, and the ash fell onto the exquisite floor. The emperor was in despair. Is there any difference? Yihua can't even remember how long it has been since he last killed someone. If I didn't guess wrongly, I have already forgotten about it. The suffocating feeling reverberated in Jing Jintian's mind. He slapped the air with his hands, and his legs were powerless. Don't kill me. I will give you anything. I will listen to everything you say. Jing Jintian shouted out powerlessly. Yihua sighed lightly. This is the most cowardly emperor that I have ever seen. He really admits defeat just because he doesn't agree with me. He can't even bring me any surprise at all. This is so boring. Thus, Yihua snapped his fingers, and Jing Jintian's head could be seen turning 380 degrees. Then, Jing Jintian slowly landed on the floor. Not long later, a golden primordial spirit that was panicking and wanted to run away. Yihua took one last puff and flicked the cigarette, but in his hand. The cigarette but landed accurately on the primordial spirit, and the primordial spirit instantly started burning, and soon after, it turned into dust. Yihua let out a breath. Actually, killing this emperor isn't to give Jing Jintian an excuse to come back. Instead, they would first let others fight for it, and then when heaven and earth came back, they would be able to easily seize the throne. Strength and military power would be in their hands, and if these idiots were not afraid of death, they could give it a try. After finishing everything, Yihua went back to sleep. It has been a long time since I did something like this. In the past, he had always left it to his underlings to do. From the looks of it, I will have to hand over this kind of small matter to my underlings in the future. If not, why would I, the supreme overlord, accept so many underlings? Keep it for fun. The concubine on the bed waited for a long time, but the emperor did not return, so she put on a thin silk dress. That arrogant body was indeed very alluring. Emperor? Where are you? Emperor? Come on, stop playing, Your Majesty. When the concubine saw the emperor who had just made love with her, her eyes were filled with shock. The emperor had actually fallen. Great terror spread through the concubine's heart. She clutched her head and let out a world-shaking scream. This scream quickly attracted the attention of the imperial guards. When the imperial guards saw that the emperor had passed away, they were all shocked. Then, the entire palace was in chaos. Before long, the entire Shanghai was filled with the ringing of bells. Dong! 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 Shanghai's emperor had passed away. This kind of news immediately spread among the influential officials. However, inside Heaven and Earth's military camp, Heaven and Earth didn't sleep at all because there were too many things that he had to consider right now, and he didn't know what Yihua was going to do. If I had known that this would happen, I wouldn't have agreed to Yihua's words. How could it be that easy to be an emperor? Father, you haven't slept yet? Martial God carried a wine pot and walked over. It was evident that he was planning to drink a few cups with his father. Heaven and Earth didn't teach his son a lesson. Poor. Okay, father. Heaven and Earth raised the wine cup and clinked it with his son. The father and son drank the wine in one gulp. Father, just what is going on? Martial God still didn't know what was going on, and he expressed that he was very worried. Heaven and Earth said gravely, Martial God, this man is very strong. Your mother could be saved this time, and we have also come to an agreement on the war this time. We will try our best to avoid losses. Really, father? That's great. Martial God was overjoyed. Originally, he felt that this was too impulsive, and he didn't expect that the other party would really cooperate with him. Heaven and Earth smiled. This is indeed good news. Martial God, in the future, don't let BUF follow you to the army. She is a man, understand? Martial God scratched the back of his head, and with a slightly immature expression, he said, Father, BUF is staying in my tent. You brat, you brought a woman out to fight a war. I'm going to break your legs. Father, this time, BUF was worried about me, and that's why she followed me out. Martial God explained, making it seem as if he couldn't live without a woman. Heaven and Earth nodded his head. With so many people mobilized, anyone would be worried. Martial God, Father has something to ask you. and you have to answer Father seriously. Seeing that his father's expression was so serious, Martial God immediately sat in front of his father and said respectfully, "Father, please speak. Do you want to become the crown prince?" Martial God was immediately stupefied. "Bow your head. Lower your voice." Heaven and earth directly slapped onto his son's head. This idiot is still making a fuss over nothing. How can I not make a fuss over nothing? This is a plot to usurp the throne. Even Martial God was stupefied. Report. A soldier suddenly ran in anxiously. Heaven and earth stood up and asked gravely, "What is it that you are making a fuss over nothing?" Report. Report to the general. Shanghai sent a letter. His Majesty, he passed away. Heaven and earth's eyes widened. Just a moment ago, he was still reprimanding others for making a fuss over nothing, and now it is his turn. Martial God, who was behind heaven and earth, was also stupefied. The emperor died? Just a moment ago, we were still talking about the plot to usurp the throne, and in the blink of an eye, you were telling me that the emperor died. Heaven and earth didn't expect that it would be so fast. Fast to the point that I don't even have a plan. This Yihua is truly fast, formidable. Truly formidable. Just do it. All right, I understand. You can leave now. Heaven and earth said gravely, carrying with him endless sorrow. However, right after the soldier left, everything returned to normal. Right now, Martial God's hands were trembling. Father is going to become the emperor. Then I'm going to become the crown prince. Father, did you get rid of his majesty? Martial God asked in a low voice. Heaven and earth directly slapped onto his son's head. Are you blind? Do you think that I could directly turn into a fly and fly into the imperial palace? Then, who killed the emperor? Martial God asked weakly. End of chapter. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.